my favorite radio personalities of all time.
On 102.5 and 106.3, The Game and the Game Nashville app.
With no further ado,
Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3, The Game and the Game Nashville app. We are live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Game Studios, and we're streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook Live every single day. D-Mase, Willy D are here. Happy Monday. How we doing?
Doing well. Got to watch a lot of good football this weekend. The Titans did wonderful. They aced it across. They got A's across the board. So kudos to the Titans.
Zero mistakes.
Yeah, zero mistakes. I can't say that for those UT Vols up the street.
Woof. Talk about a meltdown of epic proportion. Truly the definition of a tale of two halves. The third Saturday in October always seems to deliver. It never seems to be drama-free. But Alabama wins it 34-20 after going into the locker room at halftime down 20-7.
Yeah.
And the last time Alabama was down that much at halftime, it was Joe Burrow and LSU in 2019 coming into town at Bryant-Denny. So a meltdown for the Tennessee Volunteers, who looked dominant in the first half. I mean, they were dominating in all phases. Offensively, they were getting after Jalen Milroe. Jalen Milroe couldn't seem to get anything done in the passing game. Alabama couldn't run the football, but then that performance-enhancing drug of a halftime speech from Nick Saban clearly got to Alabama, because within the first 45 seconds of the second half, Alabama finds themselves in the end zone. And after that beautifully drawn up and beautifully executed play from Tennessee, that touchdown right before half, that last touchdown before half, that was all she wrote for Tennessee on the scoreboard.
Yeah,
it's amazing how quick that can happen. And I think all of us were texting during the first half. They could have been up more than they were.
Yeah.
And Alabama was really the one that was swimming, and their fans are probably sitting there going, "What is going on? Where have we slipped to? This is teetering on disaster." But they, to their credit, got it figured out. I guess that's the positive in some ways for Tennessee. This is the double-edged sword of raised expectations. They probably walk out of a game in Tuscaloosa where they're saying, coulda, shoulda, won. And that's not a place that their program has been for a long, long time. Now, that says something about Alabama. This Alabama team still looks like it's a little more gettable, even though they recovered nicely, right? They still flexed a little bit. They have some talent, but it is not the juggernaut that we have seen. They are having to work a lot harder to beat the teams in this league now. So it's an interesting way of sort of grading where each program is.
Well, Alabama made them play, especially in the second half. In the first half, I think anybody was watching the game or at the game, UT looked like the better team. Offensively, defensively, coach-wise, they just looked like the better program for the first half. Second half was a totally different story. But we should have almost saw this coming. They had an opportunity to score. Alabama defense stepped up and stopped them a few times in the red zone. But Alabama made it the type of game they wanted to make it, even though they were down. What were they down?
20-7.
20-7.
Yeah.
Because Tennessee could never run the football. Tennessee has a good running attack, but they could never run the football. Joe Milton led all rushers with 59 yards for UT. They couldn't get into a flow running the football. And you just had to have wondered as a UT fan, how long can Joe Milton be this accurate?
Yeah.
Because he was accurate. I love the pass he threw in the end zone right before the half. That was a great pass to the tight. Was it to the tight end corner out?
Tight end, yeah.
That was a timed pass. He knew where he was going. He delivered the ball where only the tight end could get it. Now, I don't know what they were doing on defense as far as, who gets who. But that pass was probably one of his better passes that I saw that day. But I just felt, at least myself, how long can he continue to do this? How long can he continue to be this accurate? Well, in the second half, the whole game got switched, and he wasn't as accurate. He was nowhere near as accurate as he was in the second half than he was in the first half.
But even in the first half, because I'm with you that offensively it looked like two different offenses, first half versus second half.
Two different defenses, too.
Two different defenses. They could not stop Alabama's run game. I think Alabama had, 16 rushing yards in the first half, and then Jace McClellan ended up with 27 carries at the end of the game. But I can't step away from that game saying that Joe Milton was the problem, which I'm surprised about. I fully expected, and I said all last week, if Tennessee loses this football game, it's because Joe Milton can't elevate that team to a certain level. But I'm saying that also considering that at one point when Tennessee was up 13-0, they could have been up 21-0 because Tennessee was at first and goal twice, and they had to settle for field goals. So there was one throw in particular where Joe Milton hits Jacob Warren, the tight end, in the end zone. Jacob Warren has to jump up to get it. Now, Jacob Warren, he's a tight end. He's a tall guy. He's a big guy, and he still has to jump up just to get his fingers on it. So Joe Milton was overthrowing receivers in the end zone, which led them to have to kick the field goal instead of getting into the end zone on 2 trips to the red zone. So let's keep that into consideration. But even that, they were still up 20-7 at the half. I can't look at that and say, well, that's the reason why you lost. Missed opportunities in the red zone. Yes, absolutely, that hurts the team. But I step away from that game saying, that's on Josh Heupel. The lack of halftime adjustments, that's on coaching. Going for it on 4th and 1 in your own territory twice and going 0 for 2 in those instances, that's on Josh Heupel. You had to expect that Alabama was going to make some pretty drastic adjustments at the half. And they did, and it showed. Tennessee didn't make those adjustments. It felt like he was conservative in the second half. You're not going to beat Nick Saban being conservative.
The fourth down, go for it is interesting to me because I go way back before this whole age that we're in now of the analytics. The analytics are telling you should go for it here. It's the classic analytics versus the feel. Who are you playing? How's the game going? Where's the game? I think that's where maybe they got a little too much into the habit. I mean, they do go for it all the time. It's routine for Tennessee to go for it on 4th and short. So that's not anything different than they've been doing pretty much since Heupel has been there, for my recollection. Now, maybe somebody who's watching them a little closer than I am would differ, but it's where is the game? What's the situation? What's the front you're going against? Are you running the ball well? I think that's where you would second guess a little bit, or I should say first guess. Like when they're lining up, and you're like, okay, what's the momentum of the game right now? Are you going to get this? Like it's gutsy, right? Because you're thinking, if you get it, hey, all right, you got it, you're moving. If you don't get it, uh-oh, and that was exactly the feel. The crowd swells a little bit more when you miss it. So on one hand, I'm not going to go crazy over the decision because they do it all the time. But two, it's that balance of, okay, this is what you train your team to do, but what's the situation of the game?
Yeah, you got to know the
what
feel.
Offense? Like Alabama's offense is not a drive the 90-yard field kind of. I'd like to see if they can do that at that point of the game. Rather than give them the ball at the 49 and playing into their strong suit. I think their defense is like, we can stop them on 4th and 1.
Well, they had opportunities, UT, to stop them. The big pass to Burton in the middle of the field. It was a wonderful catch by him. He had to go
Beautiful
behind.
throw.
He's pretty good.
Yeah, and he got some yardage. So, and even on that 4th down that they didn't get, they failed to get. Then subsequently, Alabama goes down to score. So these are momentum turning plays. Not only do you in a situation like that, you're not across the 50. And I understand what the analytics may say, but you got to know the feel of the game. You got to sometimes, and this is where, we had talked about the Titans, but this is where, Vrabel, he sort of used the feel of the game. A lot of times he wasn't big into analytics. Now, obviously, they are. But sometimes you still got to have a feel for the game. Where are we at as a team? How are we looking? We're away or home? Well, they're away. The fans in it. I need to kick this ball and force Alabama to drive the ball down the field. But you didn't. You didn't execute the play. Now you get Alabama the ball in their territory. And now, right after that, Alabama goes in and score. And now the whole tide turns, and you can never get the momentum back.
No pun intended.
Yes, exactly.
But there were 3 instances that I can think of where Tennessee gave Alabama short fields, and they capitalized on 2 of them.
Mm-hmm.
One was the first time that they went for it on 4th and 1. I think they were at their own. Tennessee was at their own 30-something. So go for it on 4th and 1. They call, just a QB sneak. Don't get it. Alabama gets the ball back. That's when Jalen Milroe threw the interception in the end zone. And it was a funky interception.
Yeah, it got tipped.
It got tipped, and then the Tennessee player picked it up. So it did make me wonder at the end of the game, had that ball not gotten picked in the end zone, like let's say Jalen Milroe throws that ball, it gets caught, it's a touchdown.
Yeah. In other words, they get punished for not getting it on the 4th and 1.
Do they decide to go for it on 4th and
Good
1
question.
again?
Very good question.
We'll never know the answer
No.
to that, but it is one of those things where I felt like Tennessee got bailed out big time with that pick. You try it again, you eventually get punished for it. How different could the flow of the game have been had you decided to just go ahead and punt it there, and then you make Alabama work for it, and then maybe the momentum falls on your way. And again, it's coulda, shoulda, woulda. It's rewriting the game a little bit, but it has been in the back of my mind.
I'd like to hear Josh Heupel talk about his philosophy. There are coaches that come hell or high water, they're going to stick with their philosophy. If their analytics are telling them we can get this and we should get this, they don't care where where they're playing, who they're playing against, what the situation is. They're going to just go for it because their team. They feel like their team is trained. They're not going to get nervous because this is what they do. Like the game I was thinking about was several years ago now, but Steve Spurrier had that mentality when he had that really strong Gators team, and there was a game against Tennessee and Peyton Manning, and this would have been the mid-'90s. I can't remember exactly what year. Maybe it was the year that Florida won the whole thing. It might have been 96. But the situation was this. Florida had a gutsy approach, 4th and 5, 4th and 6, back in the day where nobody went for it back then. But Spurrier did, and he was like, oh, yeah, we're going to go for it.
Crazy son of a gun.
And they scored a couple touchdowns. It was just daggers. And then Tennessee was trying to get back in the game, and they were more the traditional. It's 4th and 5. We're going to punt. But they kind of got caught up in that, and Phil Fulmer was like, well, they went for it, and they got it. Well, we're going to go for it. And they hadn't done it all year, and they didn't get it, and they dug themselves a big hole. I'd have to go back and look at all the details of the game. But you see what I'm saying? If your coach's philosophy, and you tell the team from day one, guys, just be ready. You're not coming off the field when it's 4th and 1. We're going for it. It's like the Eagles. You watched them last night. They went for it. Their own 29. They're going for it. They know they're going to get it on the brotherly shove or whatever. They're so good at it. So some of it is mentality, but I do wonder with the feel for the game kind of thing. It's a great philosophical discussion, but they came out on the short end of that yesterday.
And when you're struggling to run the football, and you have been struggling to run the football all game long, I think that's one of Tennessee's greatest strengths.
Yes, it's running the football.
They struggled to do it on Saturday. So I know you're probably going to fall back on your strength of the run game, but doing it in that instance, I didn't agree with the decision. And I know that there were a lot of Tennessee fans that want to say, well, they got it or they didn't or the spot was bad, whatever it is. Overall, I did not agree with the decision. And the second thing that really made me scratch my head of, Josh Heupel, like, how are you letting these things happen? It was after Alabama scored the quick touchdown right out of the half. They kick it off, and Tennessee has one returner that calls for a fair catch and another returner that caught it at the 4. And so it was called dead at the 4, where Tennessee, if they just fair caught it, they could have gotten it at the 25. Instead, they get it at the 4. That's a 20-yard swing. That's huge. That's massive.
Are you guys I see that happening way more. And D-Mase, you're a kick returner. All right.
Yeah, I
and these are
mean,
new rules, but
these are
that
new
happens
rules,
way
yeah.
more than it should. I've seen that happen in several games this year. I'm like, how does that happen?
I have no idea. Miscommunication. I don't know, how they, if everybody saw the fair catch, then why is, it's just, it's a lot different than what it was.
Yeah. It happened to Vanderbilt in Gainesville.
Yeah.
I saw that.
So, these guys got to know the rules. And I'm sure special teams coaches, head coaches are preaching it to these guys. These are the rules. This is what we can and what we can't do. You just can't have mistakes like that. But then again, I mean, if you look at the second half, I mean, UT had one more drive than Alabama. But they had 100 and I think it was 40 or 130 something less yards than Alabama. How can you go in the second half after you've played so well the first half? The momentum is going your way. How then, even if, because I'm not going to criticize Heupel for adjustments he may have may not made because I don't know their offense in and out like that. And it seems like every game they're doing the same thing no matter if they're up 100 or down 100. They're doing the same thing across the board. Their problem was they could never run the football, and which left them one-dimensional, which every team out there in America, high school, college, pro, they want to make you one-dimensional. They want to stop the run first and force you to pass because if you don't have one of those quarterbacks, they believe eventually somebody's going to make a mistake and we're going to capitalize on it. But they couldn't run the football, and this team, for whatever reason, only managed 109 total yards in the second half. In today's college football, that is unexplainable. You can't explain that. In today's college football,
Especially with the tempo they play.
Exactly, with the tempo that you play, and you got good players, and you're a good coach, how can you then only manage? We're not playing 1980s football where it's just run, and play action here or there, or triple option. We are playing a wide-open game. You average over 30-something points a game, close to 40 points a game, and you only manage 109 yards in the second half.
When Alabama had more than 109 yards rushing in the second half.
So to me, again, I'm not going to sit here and say, because Heupel's a good coach, but I'm not going to sit here and say, well, he didn't make the proper adjustments and this and that. I don't know what he did, but whatever he did didn't work because your team got taken to the woodshed and beat down. Basically, you had the game in your favor the first half. Second half, I don't know what you did when you went in the locker room. I don't know what you said, but damn it, those kids, they must have left, and it must have been some new guys in those jerseys when they came out at half because that game looked totally different.
It happened so fast, too.
Exactly.
That's the other thing, and that's what can happen on the road. It snowballs. You see that in a lot of sports. What did you guys make of Joe Milton's comments after the game? I thought it was interesting. Joe Rexroad kind of featured it in his column that I was reading about, sort of recapping the game and the thoughts. Joe Milton definitely took a lot on his shoulders, but he also intimated that some guys weren't running the stuff right. Did you take that from that? I mean, I forget the words he used. It was basically like some guys, we took turns screwing up, basically. Not on the same page. I'll pull up the quote here.
If there were, if we can get the exact quote, if there were guys that weren't doing the right thing, I have to think that that's maybe, miscommunication of assignments. And that falls on the coaching staff. If they don't know what they're doing. And that's really my biggest takeaway from the game is this is a loss that falls on the coaching staff. That they had a great first half. But whatever they did at the half, Elijah Herring, Tennessee linebacker, said at the end of the game, we felt like we already had that game won. Well, why did you think that?
Yes,
You're
two
playing
halves.
Alabama, a team that's been down at the half in half of the games that they've played so far this year, and they've only lost one of them. And for some reason, you think that you're excused from the adjustments that Alabama can make at halftime, that you felt like you could just sit back and kick your feet up and chill?
Here's the quote. Certain guys weren't doing their jobs, taking turns. I'll take full responsibility for that just because I'm the quarterback, but also because this is my team. I lead this team. Having guys assignment sound for the next game is going to be very important.
Well, to me, that sounds like it has nothing to do with the coaches. Nothing whatsoever to do with the coaches.
That's how I took it.
Yeah, that's how everything.
Yeah.
He's telling you, guys that I was looking for them to do one thing, and they did another. Or I was looking for them to block this way, and they blocked another. One guy said, "Well, we thought we had the game won." Well, I'm more inclined to believe both of y'all, but what Joe Milton is saying, I believe is right. Y'all probably walked into that locker room like the other guy said, we got this game won, so you come back out of the half, and you're not in a zone the way you need to be. You're zoned out. You're thinking about, oh, we got this game won. You're thinking about, oh, we're going to tear down and go. Whatever you're thinking about.
Thinking about your cigar.
You're not thinking about beating Alabama in the second half. And your leader just told us that in so many ways, in so many words, that was the case. Guys were not executing the way we are taught to execute, basically. You were zigging when you were supposed to have been zagging. I thought you was going to zag. You zig. Now I'm stuck. Guys need to do what they're supposed to do, need to do what they're coached to do, and they're not. So I can't put that on Josh Heupel. I could put the fourth down on Josh Heupel right there, because you got to know the temperature of the game. But their leader, their quarterback just said it. Guys wasn't doing what they were supposed to do.
But if they're coming out of the half looking kind of flat, feeling like they had already won the game, isn't that on the coaching staff to be able to get their focus back?
I mean, the coach is only the coach
I think
going.
we've seen that in a million games.
The coach, I'm gonna tell you, this is what the coach go in. Coach goes in. Because halftime is what, I don't know, 15 minutes if that. So everybody comes in. Everybody's with their coach, their position coach. The head coach really ain't saying it. He's probably going around and probably talking to the quarterback, or they're probably talking to the coordinators, or this is what we need to do or whatnot. But the players, like the receivers, we would be talking to the receiver coach. What did you see? Okay, got it. Quarterbacks coach with the quarterbacks. And then right before we get ready to go out, they give it like a 5-minute call or a 2-minute call. Hey, we need to be back out. So then the coach brings everybody up, says maybe 20 seconds of words, and then they're out. So it's not like the coach can say a lot. I think people misunderstand, people don't really understand the locker room at halftime. It's like that. It goes by so fast that you don't have time to give a speech.
I also think it's on the players to be ready to go.
Exactly.
Elijah Herring, UT linebacker, we let go of the rope, got comfortable, felt like we won the game already. To me, that's on the players. That's a natural, it's human nature. I've seen it happen. You try, you tell yourself, you think they didn't say, hey, it's a 60-minute game, we got to go out there. You think Heupel didn't say? Heupel said it to, was it Jenny Taft? Who was the dude again?
Jenny Taft, yeah.
Yeah, Jenny Dell going into the half. He said exactly those words. I would think he said that to his team. It's not like he didn't emphasize it, but it's harder to do than you think. So I think that's on the players.
615-737-1025 is our phone number. We'll get into your thoughts on the Tennessee-Alabama game. But coming up next, not going to say was the reason why Tennessee lost on Saturday night. And we'll get into that coming up next. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, we are brought to you by Zen Sports. Start earning cash rewards on your bets today. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 or older and in Tennessee to bet.
Green right, Fox 2 run, double K. He takes you inside the huddle through the eyes of a quarterback.
Wide 85, take!
Catch ESPN NFL analyst Tim Hasselbeck every Tuesday at noon as he breaks down the big stories in the NFL.
Buffalo, maybe Miami.
And with the Tennessee Titans.
The Titans might be like, we're interested in a 1-year, $1 million contract.
Tim Hasselbeck is on Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Whatever your destination in life, you can get there easier with a checking account from F&M Bank. At F&M, our checking accounts give you the tools you need to manage your money well, like our smart free checking account that's actually free. Because sometimes the basics are more than enough, making lives better by making banking easier. Come see us at one of our branches or online at myfmbank.com. F&M Bank, banking made easy on purpose. Member FDIC.
Caroline Fenton here from my friends over at Black Tie Moving. And when you move with Black Tie Moving, you are going to get a highly awarded Inc. 500 company. I moved with Black Tie Moving over the summer a few months ago, and it was the most seamless and stress-free moving experience that I have ever had. I mean, they roll out the red carpet for you on the day of your move, both literally and figuratively. They have a red carpet, but I also felt like I was getting the red carpet treatment from the very beginning of my moving process. When I had a call with a local professional moving consultant, they were completely open and honest about what the entire process was going to look like. They said they'll be there this day at this time, and sure enough, they were there that day at exactly that time. They took such great care of all of my furniture. They took such great care of the place that I was moving out of and the place that I was moving into. I could just kick up my feet on the day of my move, and they took care of all of the stressful aspect of moving day. So visit blacktiemoving.com or call 615-437-8401. That is 615-437-8401. And be sure to mention the promo code GAME, G-A-M-E, to score 10% off of your next move. Then sit back and enjoy the best move of your life.
Predators fans, Brewhouse South in Cool Springs, Brewhouse Highway 100 in Bellevue, and Brewhouse West on Charlotte Avenue is your home for hockey action all season long. They are Predators approved, and all the games are on, and they'll even give you the sound. Get awesome game day drink specials on Blue Note Bourbon and Black Abbey Beer. When you think hockey, think Brewhouse South in Cool Springs, Brewhouse Highway 100 in Bellevue, or Brewhouse West on Charlotte Avenue. Go Preds!
Some days I cover up because of my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis. Now I'm hitting the road with clearer skin thanks to Skyrizi, Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. With Skyrizi, 3 out of 4 people achieved 90% clearer skin at 4 months. And Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Ask your doctor today about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist prescribed biologic in psoriasis, and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKY-RIZZI to learn more.
In any work environment, culture is the most important thing. And what makes up the culture? The people. Hey, this is General Manager Sean Ford with Cromwell Media. And this month, we have several celebrating their anniversary working with us. From our corporate office, Janice Russell is celebrating 33 years and Dorothy Black, 29. Robbie Stanley and Joe Rexroad, the duo that make up our morning show on 102.5 The Game, are celebrating 3 years. And Connor Newt, who works for 102.5 behind the scenes, is celebrating 1 year with us as well. If you're looking for a new career, reach out to us at together@cromwellmedia.com. Love what you do, love where you work.
What's happening in Nashville? This is Scott Van Pelt. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
It was a bit one-sided.
Next question. Yeah. Was that long enough silence?
So
I didn't get that. Can somebody give me the backstory?
Yeah, what was going on there?
So to add context, it's a much more impactful clip if you can actually see Josh Heupel. So he's asked, do you feel like the officiating was a little bit one-sided? Alabama got 1 penalty for 5 yards on
the whole
day.
game.
The whole game. And Alabama statistically is the most penalized team in the SEC. I mean, it's been pretty consistent for Alabama getting double-digit penalties every single game. So Josh Heupel's asked, do you think it was one-sided? He's just standing up there, just kind of banging on the podium. He's biting his lip.
I'm just here so I don't get fined.
So
essentially,
sending the message without actually speaking words.
Yes.
But there was something about was the question about Mortal Kombat? Was there? Did he say that during the game? Was that why they used that term? I did used to play Mortal Kombat back in the day.
Yeah, I loved Mortal Kombat back in the day, man.
I think that's how the question was phrased, because that was just one little bit of the question.
Okay.
I think it was worded like, It felt like Alabama was playing Mortal Kombat out there, which I
Okay.
don't know
So
what
it
that
was
means.
it was the person asking the question. It wasn't
I think
somebody
so.
because every now and then you'll see a coach John and an official, and you can read his
Yeah.
lips. You know exactly what he's saying. But I'm guessing that's not what
A few
that happened.
F's and
Because I was thinking,
what the
Josh
heck?
Heupel,
Well-
he's old enough. He can remember playing Mortal Kombat
of
as a
course,
kid.
he probably played it himself while he was at Oklahoma. But I mean, Alabama got penalized 17 times last year's game, and I'm sure they went into the game thinking like, if we just cut down half of those penalties, it's a much different game this go around.
Oh yeah.
Well, they cut down 99.9% of those penalties, and it was a totally different game in the second half. So I'm sure Heupel, it may come up again this week, because I'm sure with them playing Kentucky this upcoming week, that question will come up again at a presser very soon here. And maybe he can elaborate on it. Maybe he chooses to take the same approach that he took Saturday after the game.
Look, it seems very crybaby of Josh Heupel to be getting up at the podium and having that kind of response to the officials. Was the officiating good on Saturday? No. Has the officiating been good for any SEC game that we've watched
Officiating
this season?
has been horrible
No.
in football. I think officiating has been horrible in Little League, too, this year.
There was an obvious hold that the refs missed. There's an Alabama player that had his arm wrapped around. I don't know who it was, who the ball carrier was for Tennessee. He had his arm wrapped around his neck. It wasn't called. But also, Elijah Herring punched Jace McClellan, Alabama running back, in the back of the helmet. And I understand he was trying to get the ball out. I understand that.
I thought he was already on the ground. I thought they were going to call that.
That's a personal foul.
Yeah, they
That's a
did. Luckily for
15-yard
Tennessee,
penalty that
they
they
didn't
missed.
call it.
So they missed calls on both sides. There's a hold on every play. We know that. They're not going to call it every play. Were there some missed calls for Alabama? Yes, there were. Were there some missed calls for Tennessee? Yes, there were. But I cannot say that Tennessee lost that game because of the officiating.
No, and very rarely can you really make that case.
Yeah.
It is a great study, just in the overall discussion of officiating. The art of officiating is, are officials aware sometimes that, you know what, there is only one penalty been called on Alabama? I mean, an official probably should not be aware of that. But on the other hand, you could argue that that's just part of it, right? The hockey discussion all the time, basketball, the number of team fouls, this is on the scoreboard, 7 for one team, 1 for the
yeah.
other. You know the coach every time is going to say, take a look, hey, 7-1, you know what's going, and then the next couple little tic-tac fouls, now it's 7-3.
Then LeBron's driving to the hole, he's
That's
embellishing, and they
Right.
cut those
Right.
a pill,
That
foul.
happens. But you know what? It's interesting. And penalties, everybody's aware how many power plays each team's had, right? Everybody. And you know that next one. If one team's had 3, the other one hasn't had one, you know that if you just hook a guy a little bit, the arm's going up, they're going to go on the power play. I wonder how that dynamic works in football. Like, everybody's aware of it on the sideline, right?
Everybody. I mean, players are not aware of it. Coaches, like head coach, he may be aware of it, but I'm sure they have someone tracking, how many penalties have been called.
The coaches for sure. I'm wondering about the refs. Like, the refs as a team.
They're
Like,
not
are they
supposed
sitting there going,
to. They're not
We've only
supposed to.
called one on Alabama. I called a real close one on Tennessee. The next close one, should I call on Alabama? And are you really a bad ref if you're thinking that a little bit? I don't know.
I think you just got to you have to let the game.
They're human.
You got to let the game force you to make calls. I think as a ref, and they may do it. It may be in the back of their mind, but I don't think they can, throughout a game, say, "Oh man, this is a little bit lopsided."
Got to make up for that one bad call.
We got to make up for it.
Am I
Because if
wrong
that was the case, then Alabama should have had more than one penalty.
Right. Don't you think it probably depends on the individual ref? There are probably some refs that said, "No, I call the next play, whatever it is," and they can stick to that. But there's probably some refs that have a guilty conscience or have the art of the makeup call, and philosophically, there have been refs over the years that have said the next close one is going against. Remember, the guy was mic'd up for the Predators. He had the mic on. He said the next one, I wanted to call one on Nashville because I had called 2 or 3. Tim, why am I forgetting his name? Tim, whatever his name. Anyway, that was basically the last game he reffed. because he was sort of going to be retired. He was about to retire anyway, and they kind of like, well, just go ahead and speed up your retirement. That'll be it. He was caught on tape.
Naples.
But what he was saying, many officials in many sports have done before.
And I
even it up a little bit if it's close. Now, maybe Alabama was so disciplined that they just didn't have any mistakes, which is possible.
I doubt it.
I doubt it. Coming off of
not to say they're not disciplined, but not to have any penalties. Yeah, I doubt it.
When they were playing at Texas A&M a couple weeks ago, I think they were penalized 10 times for like 120 yards, something like that. Like, I have a hard time believing, as disciplined as Alabama teams of the past have been, I have a hard time believing that all of a sudden you've just completely cut out penalties from your game, because there were, like, I saw several holds that weren't called. I just say be consistent with it. I think one example of that is the Super Bowl this past year. There was a late hold called on Philadelphia that gave Kansas City an opportunity to score. It was either tied then or Philadelphia was up a field goal.
Was the game.
Yeah, Juju
and that was
Smith,
the game.
It ended the game.
They grabbed him,
And a ref that would say, I call what I see, would say, I saw a hold, I called a hold. But my argument was, well, you weren't really calling holds all day long. If you were going to be ticky-tacky all day long and call a ticky-tacky hold, then yeah, sure, just be consistent with it. So were there some missed calls? Yes, absolutely. But there were missed calls on both sides. I just think it's a really bad look for Josh Heupel to get up there after going for it on 4th and 1 in your own territory twice, not getting it, not scoring a single point in the second half, but giving up 27 in the second half, that you can get up there and act as irritated as you were with the refs.
Well,
how about you play better?
He probably was irritated with the refs. And, I think he, as a head coach, he has to, show some displeasure in it. Maybe not verbally, but how he didn't answer the question and how he was just silent. But I think he ultimately understands that wasn't the reason they lost that game. They got penalized 8 times for 55 yards. I'm sure there were a few false start calls, and those were not until late on UT. I think they had maybe 2 false call penalties,
like 2 false starts,
and those were called late in the game.
Holding either the third or fourth quarter, definitely the second half. Yeah.
So in the first half, they just played good, disciplined, flawless football. And in the second half, I'm not gonna say, penalties didn't come in, but it made it difficult for them on certain drives to overcome, a 3rd and 10 or 3rd and 10 plus, and when you have penalties, if in those penalties you can't run the football, that compounds it even more, because now we go from 1st and 10 to 1st and 15, and I can't even run the ball to get 3 or 4 yards to make it 2nd and 11 and then go from there.
Right.
Their run game was non-existent other than with the quarterback, and he got one long run toward the end of the game, didn't he? He had the long run toward the end of the game, if I'm remembering right.
His long was 18.
Yeah, I think that was
18 of his 59.
The end. So Alabama came in and they played the type of game they wanted to play, especially in the second half, because they made UT one-dimensional, and they felt that Joe Milton isn't that accurate enough a quarterback that he can go a game perfect like he did in the first half.
And they had to be a little nervous in the first half.
Absolutely. Now, the first half, I was like,
Reese, the Floyd Reese, Nick Sabanism, right? He's not the only coach that's done that, but he said Nick Saban is really good at that, putting the game on a quarterback. Obviously, Joe Burrow proved that, he was good enough to beat him, right? Every now and then, a quarterback's good enough to beat him, but most of the time, if you make him one-dimensional and you make that quarterback make enough difficult throws, he feels like they're going to come out ahead. And in that first half, he was like, ooh, we're lucky we're not down more. But then it sort of came up over the course of the game. Because they did. The running backs got, 52 and 22, 74 yards on 23 carries, 23 for 74. So they essentially took the running back, turning and handing the ball to the running back out of the game.
Yeah. And that's what you want to do, I think.
Yeah.
And that's what Nick Saban is accustomed to doing. Taking away your running game, forcing you to be a pass, first offense. Tennessee pass, they throw the ball a lot. But I think deep down, they are a run team. They want to be able to run the football. If they can run the football, it opens even more of what they can do from an offensive standpoint in the pass game. And Alabama didn't allow them to do it, which I was surprised. Mm-hmm. I was truly surprised with two things. I was surprised that they were not able to run the football considering how they run their offense. And then two, a defense that was so good, and they're still good, mm-hmm. they couldn't stop the run.
Yeah.
They couldn't stop it for whatever reason. They couldn't stop the run.
And I have to give a lot of credit to Tommy Rees, Alabama's offensive coordinator, because Alabama really, for the most part in the first half, they couldn't establish a run game. But Jace McClellan, their running back one, got 27 carries and 115 yards. So in the
Old school Alabama offense.
They stuck to what they wanted to do. They committed to the run, and they were able to use the run to set up some of those big Jalen Milroe passes.
That's why it was so important for them to be back in the game as quickly as they were in the third quarter. So they weren't chasing the game at that point. It was like, okay, we can still play our game plan here.
And after that first quick strike from Alabama in the second half, I thought, all right, cool, this is a ball game. How are you going to respond, Tennessee? And then they responded with that weird snafu with the fair catch. And obviously there was still a full half of football left to be played. But at that point I thought, uh-oh. Like things feel like they're starting to unravel quickly for Tennessee. Mm-hmm. But Bill is on the line with a thought on the Tennessee-Alabama game. Our phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. What's up, Bill?
Hey, Caroline, I just wanted to take exception to two things that you said. But I want you to know I say it with love in my heart.
Go ahead.
The first thing is,
I love you, but.
Well, you made the comment that you said something about Josh Heupel's response to the question about the officiating, and he didn't say anything. And
yes.
you kind of indicated that was kind of a childish response. And
yes.
I totally 100% disagree.
Why?
Because he emphasized, I think by not saying anything, he emphasized his displeasure with the calls. But he didn't have to say anything and put himself in a position of, now this week is going to be about my comments. So I think that was a very appropriate response. The other thing that I take exception to, and correct me if I'm wrong, and we can throw a flag and listen to the tape. I think you said that one penalty versus 17 penalties does not make a difference in the game.
I did not say that.
I think you did. You said.
Well, I think we all agreed that officiating did not beat Tennessee on Saturday. I think that was the overlying comment.
But 17 penalties versus one penalty very much so makes a lot of differences. And Alabama had 17 last year and one this year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying the officials beat Tennessee. I agree with you there. And it doesn't matter if it's the Tennessee game or any game. If you have obvious, and I know you pointed out there were calls missed against Tennessee, but you have to admit there is no scale. There's one penalty, and you go back and they kept showing the replays of things that were doing.
Yeah, no, I agree with you there, and I appreciate your call. Thank you. I agree with you there that there were absolutely calls missed. Like one call for Alabama when they're the most penalized team in the SEC, like there's something a little bit fishy there. But just his point about Josh Heupel's comment, we can continue the conversation coming up next because I think the silence spoke louder than anything else that Josh Heupel could have said. We'll also get back into your phones on this game as well. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
He knows the ins and outs of the Titans and isn't afraid to give his opinion.
Traylon Burks needs a massive offseason.
He's Jonathan Hutton of Outkick.
I don't see how they make a move without going to Ryan Tannehill.
Catch him every Monday at 10:30 on Chase McCabe and every Wednesday at noon on Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase. Hutton is on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Black Abbey Brewing Company, created, not made in Nashville since 2013. Black Abbey brews classic styles, European-influenced American craft ales, and lagers. Check out their flagship brand, the Rose Belgian Style Blonde, their new English Style Amber, Pub Ale, or visit their tap room on Sidco Drive in Berry Hill. Black Abbey Brewing Company, created, not made, in Nashville, Tennessee since 2013.
Attention all fire protection, commercial plumbing, and HVAC experts. Jarrett Companies are looking for experienced field technicians like you. Tired of working for your large corporate employer? Work for a company where you're more than just a number. Jarrett's Fire Protection, commercial plumbing, and HVAC divisions are owned and operated by Nashville natives who want you to grow with their amazing team.
Hi, I'm Jason Jarrett, owner of Jarrett Companies. I'm looking to hire experienced experts and will offer a sign-on bonus of up to $5,000 for certified professionals. In addition to our great benefits that include a 401k match, PTO, and top pay with annual bonuses, we'll also provide you with top-of-the-line tools, trucks, and equipment that you need to grow your career. Our customer base is large and our business is booming with many opportunities for advancement. Give us a call or go online to JarrettCompaniesInc.com and apply today to become a member of our family and protect our community. That's JARRETT CompaniesInc.com. Jarrett Companies, where we are above and beyond industry standards.
Hey, it's Jared from my friends at Hiller. If you have some things around your home that you've been putting off fixing, like your regular HVAC maintenance or a clogged bathroom drain, Hiller has some big discounts this month. When the temperature drops and you start using your heater for the first time, you do not want to be dealing with breakdown issues, and this month, Hiller is offering half off HVAC tune-up. And Hiller is bringing back their $99 drain cleaning special. These deals only last this month, so be sure to call today. That's Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical, proud supporters of the Preds of Falls and Vandy. Hiller, call the Happy Face Truck today.
Want an inexperienced surgeon?
Okay, nurse, I'm ready for the scalpel.
How about an inexperienced airline pilot?
Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain, and I'm terrified.
Experience matters, and we have it.
Regal Realty Group is experienced to help you from contract to close. They know the area, understand financing, and have up-to-date property listings and comparisons. Oh, and lots of experience. Visit RegalRG.com.
The Parker Store at 1909 Nolensville Road in Nashville is the Parker Factory Authorized Store for your Parker hydraulic, pneumatic, water, and chemical hose needs. They stock metric tubing and hose connections to 42 millimeters in size, and they'll fabricate while you wait up to 6,000 PSI hydraulic hoses in a 2-inch size. Call the Parker Store at 615-248-8245 for all the Parker requirements you have. The Parker Store, 1909 Nolensville Road.
We gather together in communities across the nation to remember and honor, to celebrate and support, to light the night. We are LLS, and when we walk, cancer runs. Find your local event at lightthenight.org.
Keeping it local.
The Titans get a big win. Well, Derrick Henry's on the field. It's like, all right, what's going to happen?
And fun.
Bad time to get Florida. They're going to be mad. Oh, my goodness.
Every day, it's Chase McCabe.
I was sitting here going, I think I'm going to watch Batman 1989 tonight.
And Big Joe Dubin.
That's your plan for tonight? Probably, yeah. I need a night.
The Chase and Big Joe Show, brought to you by Regal Realty Group. Weekdays at 9 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. Having some fun in the midday.
Yeah, that's awesome.
This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Nothing to do different. Everybody on the team has a wristband on their wrist, their left or right wrist, that says take a deep breath, just breathe. Where are we right now? And we're right here right now. So just being able to just look at your wristband or being able to just take a deep breath and understand where you're at, embrace the moments. We all prayed for moments like this when we were younger. So being able to just embrace the moments and take a deep breath and understand where you're at and just do your job. That's all that matters.
All right, there you go. That was Joe Milton post-game. But I want to get into Josh Heupel's comments post-game because, like I said, I think it's kind of crybaby of Josh Heupel to get up there and not answer the question about the one-sided officiating. But he basically was silent for like 15 seconds. Mm-hmm. A caller called in and said, I don't think it was fair of you to say that was a crybaby thing. And, it's better than having comments like the referee stunk. I'll ask you guys, what did you make of Josh Heupel's comments or lack thereof?
I felt it was a coach that wanted to say more, but knew that by him saying anything, it was going to come off as you said, Caroline, crybaby-ish. So you do what many people do. It's like my non-answer is an answer in a sense, and you take it how you want it. But I'm going to, do this, make this gesture or this face or whatnot, but I'm not going to say anything about it. I'm going to wait for the next question to be answered. And that's what he did, because he understands that if I do go down this road with blaming the refs, I'll let my players off the hook. That's exactly what I do.
But isn't that what he did by not saying anything? Like, we all know he wanted to say that the refs totally screwed us.
Because listen, I'm gonna tell you what my mama told me, and I'm sure your parents have told you before. If you ain't got nothing good to say,
don't say it at all.
Don't say it at all. And that's what Hypo did. He may have made some noise or something, but he didn't verbally say a word. Now
Sometimes
we're left.
You don't need to say anything.
Yeah, you're right about that.
Get your point across.
Now it's left up to us to interpret what he really wanted to say by his non-verbiage or his body language that he displayed.
His pleading of the fifth, if
exactly.
You will.
So, but he didn't. I think truly. I mean, you could take it from both sides. If you want to look at it as him being crybaby-ish, then you can. Because
and if you're an Alabama person, you are playing the violins.
Absolutely.
You're getting out the whining sound.
Absolutely. And then you can sit on the other side.
That wine.
You sit on the other side. It's like he didn't say nothing. And if you are a UT fan, it's like, okay, he didn't say nothing. He wants to go past it. But again, to me, he didn't answer the question. One, because, listen, if I go down this road and I open my mouth about the penalties, then that's going to open up a bunch of other stuff. So you know what? I'm not going to say anything. I'm not letting my players off the hook. They didn't come out and play the second half the way they should have played. There was miscommunications. There was botched plays, whether you ran the wrong route or you blocked the wrong guy. All of these things had nothing to do with the penalties. They had everything to do with us. You could have penalized us 5 more times. It still doesn't take away what we didn't accomplish or what we didn't do as a team, because we played damn near flawless football in the first half and came back the second half and played as if we were playing Dartmouth or somebody. Excuse me for those Dartmouth grads.
How dare you take a shot at the big green like that, D-Mase? Come on.
I'm actually a huge Dartmouth football.
Okay, let me retract that.
My father-in-law was a baseball coach at Dartmouth once upon a time. D-Mase, come on.
I got a buddy that plays football over there.
I have a friend.
Okay, I'm off the show. See y'all later.
I have a friend that was a Dartmouth punter. D-Mase, how dare you? How dare you?
All right, I'm gone. See ya.
You know what's good though? I think this is a great lesson. I'm very curious how Hypo handles that line of questioning today, because he's going to have a chance to cool down. He'll have his weekly thing, and he'll get asked about it. So he might have a different approach. But I think a coach has to pick his spots on when you play that card of, I'm going to send a message to the SEC officiating that I didn't like that at all, and I do think that may have cost us the game. Maybe that's one of the spots he was picking. But I think in retrospect, in watching the game from where I was sitting, I think it was more of a, hey, we had a lot of things we could have done better. Okay, I know that you can even drop in there. Yeah, I mean, that's what the stat sheet says. You guys can decide, but we have got to take care of what we have control over. We could have played a lot better. I think that's probably what the book would tell you to do.
Yeah. And one texter texts in and says, well, damn, Caroline, what did you want him to say? What's the right thing to say, Coach Caroline? I think what you just said, Willie. You can decide for yourselves. You've got the box score. There's a lot of things that we could have done better. It's really hard to win football games when you score 0 points in the second half and you give up 27. It's on me to be better. It's on the whole team to be better. We didn't finish our job today.
My coach,
Which is the truth.
Eddie Fogler at Vanderbilt, he had a stock answer. And I was always the team mimic. I could get all the Foglerisms, right? I was ready. So in the press, when he got asked about that, unless he really did think we got beat by the officials, which maybe happened once in the years that I was playing, but he would say officiating did not get us beat. It would come right out of his mouth as soon as he got the question, because he knew that was not something he wanted to get into. He didn't want to get fined, things like that. So if that's your stock answer, then you usually protect yourself.
Does anybody know what? Because I'm sure that came up to Nick Saban last year because they had 17 penalties last year. And you can say that did cost them the game, those 17 penalties. I wonder what was Nick Saban's response to, because I know it had to come up in the game. You got 17 penalties. Do you think that cost you the game? So I wonder what his response was, because it would allow me to better understand then why the Heupel choose, or, the question that was asked of Heupel last year. UT had 17 penalties, yada, yada, yada. What was his response? Did he kind of play it off and dismiss it, or did he answer it? And to me, that would allow me to better understand why he chose to answer the questions the way he did in regards to penalties this year.
Joey from Gallatin, Texan says, Heupel is a classy coach. I would agree. I think Heupel's a great coach.
Oh, yeah.
Says he's trying to build a team that puts it all on the field and doesn't make excuses. I think by staying quiet, he is showing his team that although there is clear evidence of home cooking, they should have played better. How? How in the world did he do that by staying silent? I don't understand.
By not, again, I go back to it, and you can sort of, make a determination, what he meant, what he didn't mean, nonverbal, verbal. But to me, I just think he didn't want to go down that road. He didn't, he was, understandably, he was upset.
I get it.
So he didn't want to travel down that road. He wanted to keep it about his team and what they didn't do, as opposed to, the reps being a part. Because, again, if we go back and we watch the game, there's penalties, and then there's meaningless penalties, and then there's meaningful penalties. In the first half, you get a false start. I can't believe, like on the first drive, second play, I can't believe that determines the outcome of the game. A penalty, first half, false start, or two penalties, first half, false start. I can't believe that had made any determination on the long haul of the game. Now, if you get two false starts with 2 minutes remaining and you're on a scoring drive, now I can say those two penalties directly hurt you as a team. I can't say that in the first quarter because you've had enough time to make up for those penalties, and you didn't. So we can't. So I think maybe that's where he was headed. Yeah.
But
in
it's a very different argument than the one we used a lot after the Titans-Saints game, right? Mm-hmm. That's a blown call by the officials on the replay, on the whole system, and how they implemented the system that they had. That may have cost the Titans a game. And think about how different the conversation. But it was points.
It was potential. There was points involved. Direct points involved.
That could have swung the game.
In regards to that one. So I can see you saying, well, that did. Yeah, because it was directly, I pick it up, I run it in for a touchdown for Bayard. But they end up kicking a field goal, I think, that drive.
Yeah,
or
they got
scored,
a field goal instead
points.
of the Titans having a touchdown. It's a 10-point swing and what ends up being a 1-point game.
Right.
That you could say that.
That does hurt.
Yes, absolutely. So think about how different the Titans' outlook would be if they're 3-3 and not 2-4, as we're sitting here today and going into a very, very big week, which I'm sure we're going to get to here. But wow, I mean that's very different than hey, they had 8 penalties and we had 1 penalty. You know that's way, way different. It's hard to make the argument that in a game that ends up 34-20, where you had so many other examples of where you screwed some stuff up. Not that the Titans didn't against the Saints, right? They shot themselves in the foot in plenty of areas too. But it's a really tight game. This ends up being a 34-20 game. It's hard to say officiating beat you in that game.
Tennessee had so many opportunities to win that football game. And even in the first half, when I thought that they were so dominant, they were stomping on Alabama's throats in that first half. Even in the first half, when I thought they played great, they still missed opportunities. Kicked 2 field goals when they could have gotten into the end zone. So I look at that. I look at the missed opportunities. I look at the costly fumble, the scoop and score at the end of the game, the weird fair catch, the not being able to stop the run, the allowing Alabama to score on 2 drives in their first possession of the second half, all of those things, play calling, all of those things are the reasons why you lost that football game. I cannot look at the refs and say, you're the reason. You screwed Tennessee. But we'll get back into this conversation. But coming up next, I want to switch some gears to the NFL. Because speaking of people who are upset with coaches in the state of Tennessee, add Mike Vrabel to the list. We'll explain coming up next. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
To know what makes Genesis Diamonds so special, you have to understand its origin. Back when owner Boaz Ramon used to sell diamonds only to jewelry stores.
I was selling to more than 700 jewelry stores. I didn't like what I saw.
What he saw in retail stores was grossly inflated prices, limited selection, pricing games, and a sales process that put the customer at a disadvantage. And it motivated this wholesaler to start his own retail revolution.
My passion was to build a place where the customer is going to be very informed. We're not going to hide any information from him. We're not going to have to get diamonds from other people. We're not going to mark up our prices to mark them down.
So Genesis was born. No middleman markups, no commission salespeople, industry-leading warranties, 30 times the selection, a no-holds-barred diamond education that empowers the customer, and a refreshing, relaxed, no-pressure atmosphere.
We created a place where the consumer is the king.
Come and get the royal treatment today. Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs.
This week's Nashville's Best Deal is from Nashville's largest axe throwing venue, Bad Axe Throwing Nashville. Go to thegamenashville.com/deals to get a $50 gift card for $25. Aim for a great time while enjoying panoramic downtown views, live music, curated cocktails from the full bar, and a Northwoods-inspired menu with a Southern twist. Bad Axe Throwing Nashville welcomes axe throwers and non-axe throwers alike. Bad Axe Throwing Nashville, 648 Fog Street.
Now, your Game Center update.
This Game Center update is brought to you by Gary Force Acura, proud sponsor of your Nashville Predators. I'm Nick Frazier. The Nashville Predators got a win over the weekend as they beat the San Jose Sharks 5-1. Late into the first period, Sam Fagemo netted his first goal of the season with the Preds. Early into the second period, Preds' Tommy Novak and Kiefer Sherwood extended the lead 3-0. And then in the third period, Tommy Novak again and Luke Evangelista scored the final 2 goals for the Preds. After scoring 2 goals on Saturday night, Tommy Novak now leads the team with 4 goals on the season. The Preds' next game is Tuesday night at Bridgestone Arena. Puck drop set for 8:15. And in the MLB, we have some doubleheader action tonight as the Philadelphia Phillies look to close out the NLCS and move on to the World Series. It's Game 7 for the Houston Astros and the Texas Rangers. Can the Astros make yet another World Series appearance? Or will the Rangers play spoiler to the Houston dynasty? I'm Nick Frazier, and you're listening to 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
For more, follow us on Twitter at 1025 The Game or visit thegamenashville.com. Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT FM Pegram, WPUZ HD2 Laverne. Broadcasting on Alexa.
I appreciate that.
And other smart speakers. 1025 and 106.3.
And a score!
You can run different offenses.
The doors on the board.
Off the field, on the field.
The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Covering your teams and the news of the day.
Ladies and gentlemen.
This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase.
Who is pleasant to listen to.
With Caroline Fenton, Willie Donick, and former NFL wide receiver Derek Mason.
You are hands down my favorite radio personalities of all time.
On 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
With no further ado.
Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. We are live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Game Studios, and we're streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook Live every single day. TD, Teron Davenport, will join us in 1 hour. We'll get TD's thoughts on what the Titans need to do to recover from the bye week, look ahead to Atlanta, the latest in Ryan Tannehill, and also some trade rumors that have been floating around, so we'll get to that with TD in 1 hour. But as we're talking about interpreting what coaches mean and what they say in media appearances, let's switch our gears to the Tennessee Titans. First of all, there was a tweet put out there. It was a screen grab of the Buffalo-New England game, which, woof, Buffalo, my goodness, losing to the crummy, crappy Patriots. I do have to give you credit for that. But this is a screen grab of the game of Mike Vrabel wearing his, his Ring of Honor jacket.
Congrats to Coach Vrabel as well.
Congrats to Mike Vrabel, and sitting next to Robert Kraft in the owner's box. And this is a tweet put out there by a New England Patriots beat writer for the Boston Herald. It says, I wonder if an NFL head coach has ever spent his bye week in opposing owner's suite before. Titans head coach and new Patriots Hall of Famer Mike Vrabel is with Robert and Jonathan Kraft. Now, this set off like a fire with Tennessee Titans Twitter and Titans fans. Did you two have any problem with that?
With him going?
With him sitting with Robert Kraft in the box.
I mean, if he's going to go, wouldn't it just out of respect, you got to sit with the owner? If the NFL didn't see a problem with it, then how can we as fans, Amy didn't see a problem with it, how then we, think there should be a problem? I don't. Listen, they invited him. He said yes. Amy, I'm sure Amy knew everything about it. The NFL knew about it. And then he still went to be honored, sitting in the box. Hell, he should have been in the box and not in the stands where it was probably, I don't think it was cold, but I would rather sit in the box than be cold.
It was pretty windy. There were some field goals that went awry
exactly
in that game.
So,
I'm glad Nick Folk wasn't kicking for his sake, because Jared would have broken down a lot of those kicks.
Yeah.
We stink again.
But I don't see anything wrong with him sitting in the box, being there, because he was there because the Patriots wanted to honor him as one of the Patriot greats. He was a part of their winning culture, their Super Bowl wins. So when the owner calls, I don't care if it's another owner, if they want to, show you that much love, then you go and you're on your bye week, and they set it all perfectly. So if Amy didn't have a problem with it, I don't have a problem with it. Maybe some other stuff we discuss, I will have a problem with.
All right, but let's start with I think the proper way to do it, if I'm involved, is you communicate. You tell Amy, I've been invited to go up this. Here's the thing. And you just let her know that this is what you'd like to do. And I would think if you're a reasonable person, and Amy Adams has shown that she is, then you say, yeah, absolutely, go up there. Go do it. As long as you're not blindsided and all of a sudden he's in the box and you had no idea he was going, then you might have an issue. Or if you're playing the Patriots 2 weeks from now or something, maybe you consider things like that. But I had no problem with that whatsoever.
I didn't either. We all knew that he was getting inducted into the Ring of Honor Hall of Fame.
They call it their Hall of Fame.
The Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And good for him. Enjoy
you can separate your playing career from your coaching career, for sure.
Exactly. When I saw everyone making a big stink about this, I'm thinking, why? We all knew that he was going to do that. That's something that he can enjoy for his career and his personal life. And I think the reason why people were so upset about it is because you're 2-4. And you don't look like a very good football team. If you're 6-0, it's probably a different conversation. So I had no problem.
But he had committed to that prior to the season starting.
Exactly. I had no problem whatsoever. Hope he enjoyed himself. Get back focused for the Falcons, which I think he 100% is focused on beating the Falcons this weekend. But it's not just him sitting with Robert Kraft in the box or being there at the game. There was another element to this that Titans fans, I think, probably have more right to be frustrated with or upset with when Mike Vrabel made some comments to the media when he was accepting his red jacket. This was Mike Vrabel.
We held each other accountable because there was trust, there was an understanding, there was a respect that you could say things that needed to be said to each other. And every day, that's what I'm trying to recreate. Wherever I coach, and now it's in Tennessee, obviously, but I'm trying to recreate what we had in that locker room. And I don't know if we'll get it, but we're going to try. Every day I'm going to try, because nothing was more important than the team. Not your feelings, not your stats, not your paycheck, not what you'd done in the past. Nothing was more important than the football team. And guys had to know that coming in. And the guys that were here before me made me aware of it, just like, I was able to make other guys aware of it. I mean, I'm proud of being voted a captain on this football team. Football team that has so many great players. Like, I didn't take that lightly. That'll probably still be one of the biggest honors I've ever done, is being voted a captain with some of these guys that were on these teams and having the opportunity to be a captain.
So he says, that culture that we had in New England is something that I want to bring wherever I coach. Right now it's Tennessee. He said, haven't gotten there yet. What do we think about that? What do we think about Mike Vrabel's comments?
I had no problem with the comments. I think he is illuminating how special those teams were and how, as much as you might try, there aren't very many teams that can be as special as that team. Now, they had a pretty special quarterback, but I do think that what made that team great, there's been a lot of great quarterbacks that the rest of their team just wasn't good enough to win the Super Bowl, as Dan Marino and, for the first 90% of his career, John Elway, right? You can elevate your team a lot, but you need the right people. That was a special group. And so, I didn't have any problem with what he said. I know people could be sensitive about it, but I thought there was nothing wrong with what he said there.
Okay. I was blessed to be a part of two really good locker rooms, here and in Baltimore. Here, Vrabel was exactly what he's saying. What was in Baltimore, in New England, it was the same here. My 8 years here. We didn't talk about contracts. We didn't care about that stuff. You knew the guys that were making you, but you didn't care. And even the guys that were making money, they didn't. It was like, I did what I needed to do. I need to do more. And just because I got this doesn't mean I need to now stop. I've seen Eddie get paid and still run as hard as he ever ran. I've seen Steve get paid and him still play as hard as he could. I've seen Samari get paid and him play as hard as he could. You can go myself. You can go down the line of guys that got their bag and still went out there and played as hard as they possibly could. Baltimore was the same thing. Saw guys get a bunch of money, but they never allowed that to affect what they did and how they approached the game. That's what he's trying to recreate. I don't think he has it yet, but I don't think it is as bad as people may think hearing his comments. He want what he had in New England. Once you become a coach or a player, when you leave a locker room, if you're a player, you want your next stop, you want it to be, if it was a good experience, you want it to be like that old locker room. You want to step into that new locker room and hope and pray, hey, listen, this is how it should be. And if you don't see it, you start talking to other guys like, hey, man, this is what we need, what we used to do, and it worked, so maybe we need to do. Coaches are the same.
You bring people in that you think have that similar kind of mentality.
So I understand what he's saying. He's trying to recreate that here, but he hasn't got it. But then you listen to some of the comments after the Baltimore game. Then you wonder, well, does he have a locker room the way he exactly wanted?
I think they've had a good locker room for the majority of time that he's
been
there.
Think that, and I don't think the locker room is a bad locker room.
Yeah. Right? They're 2-11
exactly
in their last 13. So he knows that right now he's fighting to keep the culture. He's fighting to keep this group together. Their season is teetering. Yeah. But that's not why he's New England. He's in New England. He's talking about the great teams he was playing on, and maybe it's just sort of in the back of his mind.
But
his
don't you
current
think,
situation? So
but
it's
don't you
different
think
the atmosphere he's saying and how people here watching only through the Titans prism are going to take those comments.
But don't you think he also is looking at it from this standpoint? If you just worry about the team, you're going to get paid. Then we keep guys like A.J. Brown. If you're not so worried about the money, like the optics of the money, because I hate to go back to A.J. Brown. Damn, he's killing it in Philly. But I digress. I'm not talking about. I'm not talking.
That thought last night. Yes.
Yes, I know we all did. But I'm not. Yes, but I'm not talking about the numbers. I think he look at it from this standpoint. You got the same amount of money in New England that you would have got, meaning in Philly that you would have got here. Matter of fact, you would have probably got more of your money here than you got in Philly. If you were just worried about making the team better, you would have got your money. that AAV is for the agent. What you really getting, you would have got more here, you know. So I'm trying to get these guys to understand and it's hard for guys to understand this because they know how short this game is. Like, I got to make my money, coach. I have to. I got to worry about that. I'm going to go out there and play. What Vrabel's trying to get them to think is, don't worry about that. It will come. You play well, the money will come. You do the things we're asking you to do, the money will come. But he has seen in some instances where guys were worried about the money and it caused maybe a shift in the team a little bit. Not to say he doesn't have a bad locker room. That's not what I'm insinuating here. But the thought of me wanting more money can sort of shift things just a little bit. Now we don't have an A.J. Brown. Well, we could have had an A.J. Brown if he would have just, thought about it like, man, I'm going to stay here. Yeah, the AAV looks bigger over there, but I'm getting more money here. And I could have stayed. That's what he's trying to get the guys to understand. Like, what we're doing is bigger than what we're going to give you as far as money. And guys, because their careers are so short, it's hard for them to truly, buy into that 100%.
Yeah.
So considering they're 2-5, those comments.
2-4. Don't you give them another loss?
I'm sorry. I'm not jumping the gun here with the Atlanta game. They're 2-4. The optics of it sort of looks not good because of their record, but
how would you take that if you were in the Titans locker room right now, that you heard your coach basically airing the dirty laundry of the locker room?
Oh, man.
I wouldn't.
Well, you know what? If I knew what my locker room was, and if I knew there was some truth to what he was saying, yeah, I would be like, well, I mean, he ain't lying. You got to be honest with yourself in that situation. But if it wasn't true, I would be thinking, like, what are you talking about, coach?
But you're comparing it to one of the greatest teams of all time.
Yeah.
Right? So it's not a big knock that your locker room's not as great as one of the greatest teams of all time.
I just think it's unnecessary to bring up your own locker room with your own team right now, because you're right, Willie. It's the greatest team of all time with the greatest quarterback of all time. Mm-hmm. And I just thought it was very strange and unnecessary for Mike Vrabel to say, well, what I had was so great. What I got now, man, these bums, this culture.
But that's an exaggeration.
It is an exaggeration. It is an exaggeration.
That's not what he said.
It's not that
I'm acknowledging that it is an exaggeration, but that's how I interpreted it. If I'm in that locker,
I think. To go that far with it, to say he's really knocking his
then
team. That's just my opinion.
I still think it's unnecessary for Mike Vrabel to bring up his own locker room when you're 2-4, and and I said I have no problem with Mike Vrabel going to New England and sitting in the owner's box, because that's one aspect of his life that you can separate from another. So why bring in your team when you can just talk about how great of a team that we had, and this team, I'm so grateful for my time here. I thought it was completely unnecessary to basically say, hey, we're not, like, the locker room that we have now is not that. And I think that's obvious. I think that we understand those words,
that. But he was, I think, the way I took it.
He said he's trying to recreate
He's trying to take what he learned in New England, and he strives to bring those principles to his coaching career. That's how I interpret it. It was not, let me take a knock at my team.
Well, I can understand. It as a knock.
I get that, but I that's not how I interpret it.
Well, I mean, we could look at it, like that. We could look at it, like you said, Caroline. We could look at it as, I am talking to a specific group of guys, and y'all know who you are. When I verbalize these words, when they come out of my mouth, those guys know who exactly I'm talking about. I may not even be talking about the whole team. I may be talking about 2 or 3 guys in that locker room. That's why I said what I needed to say. It wasn't about the whole team, because I think he does, at least from the outside in, I think he does have a locker room that is going to fight for one another, and it's going to play, it's going to play hard. But you may have a few individuals that are, worried about contracts and will they be here next year, but that's human nature as a player. That's what you think about, especially when your season gets off the way.
And everybody knows their situation with a veteran quarterback, a veteran running back. We know what the deal is. The cap situation will have to be addressed in a big way. The players aren't dumb. They know that that's going on. So
Exactly.
as it's teetering, that challenges the strength of your locker room. We were talking about this last week.
He's trying to get what New England had. I don't think New England, even though they had what many believe is the greatest quarterback ever, I still am a Peyton and Steve guy. But no knock on Tom. I just don't like him because he's a UMM guy. But beside that, we're good.
Has nothing to do with it.
Yeah,
Nothing to do with the
it
Michigan.
has everything to do with him going to Michigan. But as far as player, respect the hell out of him. But I don't think I don't think in that period they always had the best team. They didn't. I'm going to tell you that. They didn't. What they had was the greatest buy-in. They had the greatest buy-in of any franchise for that period of time. Nick Saban had the greatest buy-in of any university out there when he was winning championships year in and year out. Right now, it seems like Kirby Smart has the greatest buy-in. May not have the best. Well, Kirby may have the best team, and Nick did have the best teams back then. But New England, I don't think when you line up all 11 on offense and defense, I don't think they had the better team. But they had the greatest buy-in from one of the greatest, if not the greatest coach. Then on top of that, you got arguably the greatest quarterback. So we don't need to necessarily have the greatest team or the best team, but as long as all 11 of y'all on offense and all 11 on defense and on special, if we all buy into the same thing, then that's all we need.
And does Bill Belichick right now have the greatest buy-in?
I don't think he has the greatest buy-in. I don't think he has.
It's the same coach that had
Exactly.
the greatest buy-in. So the coach sometimes can't control everything, right? He tries.
And that's what I
He's
think
not
Vrabel is
changing.
trying to get this team to think. We just need to have the greatest buy-in of any team in the National Football League.
And that's, I think, what they've had and what has made them so successful. Even when they don't have the Josh Allens and Patrick Mahomes and Joe Burrows, they're still able to get the top seed in the AFC.
I
because
agree.
Of
I think
such
he's
a strong
overachieved.
culture.
You're right. I 100% agree with that.
But what's the difference now is kind of my question. And if he's telling
Diversity. Not as many good players.
But I don't think they may have one or two less players, but then again, those one or two players are doing big things somewhere else.
And some of the really good players are a little older,
absolutely,
too, and maybe not as able to carry them.
Yeah.
Josh is on the line with a thought on Mike Vrabel. Phone lines driven by WilsonCounty.com. What's up, Josh?
Hey guys, this may be a stupid question, and if it is, I'm sorry, but
There's no stupid questions. Let's go.
Go ahead, Josh.
In my mind, with Vrabel being there in the box with him and being there Saturday for dinner and whatnot, and it's being publicly known, in my mind, like I would like the president had Secret Service people around them. I would think the NFL would have people there just to make sure there's no team tampering. Just to monitor everything that's being said, not publicly, but just make sure there's no team tampering. And I'll shut up and just listen. Thank y'all.
Yeah, thanks for your call, Josh.
I don't know if it's a good question. It's okay. You're going down there. This whole tampering thing is real. Not to say that Vrabel.
The Patriots? They
Exactly.
never tampered.
Absolutely.
They've never done
They've
anything
never
wrong.
cheated.
The Patriots?
But I wonder, did the league, and I know we got to go to
Very
break here,
upstanding
but I
team.
wonder, did the league send someone to be there? So everything was on the up and up. I don't know if they did. I don't know if they didn't, but I wonder if they did.
I always go back to when Sean McVay says, it just so happened that
Oh,
me
yeah.
and Matthew Stafford were at the same resort in Cabo at the same exact
And
time.
our rooms are right across the hall from each other.
And we just happened
yeah.
to trade for him just a couple of weeks later.
Yeah. Remember when Albert Hainsworth signed with Washington?
Oh, yeah.
1 minute after the free agency.
We
period
never worked
started.
on a deal. We never worked on a deal. Come on.
They're just really quick with it.
Exactly.
Credit to them.
They just called right then, and we made it. We made a deal right there.
Took all of 2 seconds.
Also, Belichick just got a contract.
Yeah.
So I
And that's what
didn't
people
know.
really don't understand. Like, Belichick, he's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
He's there for good.
Heck of a win for them. I did not see that come.
Well, look who you playing.
New contract extension energy, I guess. 615-737-1025 is our phone. We'll continue the conversation. $997.89. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 or older and in Tennessee to bet.
Breaks down every game.
The players are still going to be fine.
And knows the ins and outs of the two-tone blue.
They deal with their own position coaches.
He is ESPN NFL Nation Titans reporter Teron Davenport.
It's clear what he's doing.
TD joins every Monday at 1, Thursdays at 3, Friday mornings at 8, and anytime on the Talkin' with TD podcast.
I think that's really cool how he could show both sides.
TD is on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Well, I struck out again on my Take It to the Bank on Friday, brought to you by F&M Bank. Par for the course. I am in the cellar in our little fun competition, and it's brought to you by F&M Bank. Hey, you hear me talking about these guys every week. I want to tell you about why we're so excited to have them on board as one of the sponsors of our show. F&M Bank is here to serve you whatever your banking needs are. They've got 20 convenient locations around Middle Tennessee and even up in southern Kentucky, where I know some of you can be listening. We all have different financial goals these days. Simplified checking, a new savings account, maybe a business-to-business loan. Whatever your needs are, F&M Bank is a full-service community bank. They're there to make your financial decisions easier on purpose. Easy on purpose. That's hard to believe that banking could be easy, right? But in addition to those 6 Clarksville locations, find the one nearest you. Sumner and Robertson counties, right in Midtown Nashville, downtown, right in the heart of your community in a lot of different places, like Franklin, right down the road. Visit myfmbank.com. That's myfmbank.com. And then find out why F&M Bank makes banking easy on purpose. Equal housing lender, member FDIC.
Get Black Friday deals earlier than ever at Electronic Express. Get the gifts you want and save up to 40% throughout the entire store. Beat the crowds and save on hundreds of 4K TVs, appliances, computers, and more. Plus, get up to 36 months free financing on items like an LG 75-inch 4K TV, now only $649, or a Samsung French door refrigerator, only $13.99. Black Friday deals are here at Electronic Express. We make it happen.
Wendy's new breakfast 2 for $3 Biggie Bundles let you create your own delicious combo. Choose from a sausage biscuit, egg and cheese biscuit, small seasoned potatoes, and a medium hot coffee. But it's obvious which combo's the best. Sausage biscuit and small seasoned potatoes. Well, maybe it's the fresh cracked egg and cheese biscuit with a medium hot coffee. Or 2 savory sausage biscuits. Whichever you pick, you can't go wrong. Choose wisely. Choose Wendy's new 2 for $3 Biggie Bundles.
Limited time only. U.S. price and participation may vary. Not valid in a combo. Single item at regular price.
It's football season, and with a game every week, there's no better time to make the switch to Zen Sports. When you sign up to Zen Sports with code D-Mason, that's D-M-A-S-O-N, you will earn a welcome bonus that gives you 5% cash back on your total betting volume for your first 15 days of betting. Download today on the App Store or at zensports.com. Gambling problems, call 1-800-889-9789. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 years or older to bet here in Tennessee.
Actor Portrayal, based on a real patient experience.
I'm Mike. I'm a husband, proud father of 2, work my butt off 6 days a week, some nights too. When my family or my company needs me to make it happen, I make it happen. But a few months ago, I started having trouble making it happen, in the bedroom. I tried some pills online, but they didn't work. Honestly, I thought about throwing in the towel on my sex life, but I'm not that old. I still want to enjoy intimacy with my wife. Like that poet said, I don't want to just go gently into that good night. So I went to the Tennessee Men's Clinic in Franklin. Got some lab work done, was prescribed some meds, and wow, it made it happen. I can't say enough about them. Their providers took care of me, followed up, and made sure I had a treatment plan that actually works. It's awesome. If I were you, and you're like me, I'd give them a call today, 615-208-9090, or go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. If you're like most guys, they'll make it happen for you too.
Visit our website to learn more, including side effects, treatments extra. Results vary.
Hey Nashville, this is David Poyle. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 The Game.
But I also want you not to take this organization for granted. I've been a lot of places. This is a special place with great leadership, great fans, great direction, great coaching. Enjoy it. It's not like this everywhere. Thank you very much.
All right, there you go. That was Mike Vrabel. He was in New England over the weekend, inducted into the Patriots Hall of Fame. And I know that there were some Titans fans that What is Mike Vrabel doing in the box with Robert Kraft? It's okay. He was there for a reason. We knew he was going to be there. But based off of the vibe in our text line, a lot of Titans fans were more frustrated or hurt by what he said rather than physically being there. But let's get into your thoughts on this. Our phone lines are driven by WilsonHyundai.com. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Eric is on the line with a thought on Mike Vrabel. What's up, Eric?
Guys, let me say this. I got no problem with that. He was with the organization. I mean, what do you expect him to say? Do you expect him to go up there and denigrate the organization? I mean, come on. I mean, I just think people need to get over it and stuff. But the thing that it just kind of think is so hilarious. Everybody's talking about. Of course, last week you heard all the rumors. Well, is Mike Vrabel going to be the next coach of the Patriots, first-round draft pick and stuff like that? And now, of course, we hear the signed Belichick and also the signed extension. I wonder if they didn't win and it wasn't Bill Belichick's 300 victory, if that would have been released, if they had lost that game, would they still have released that? They would have still been called from the Patriots fans, we got to get rid of him and all that type of stuff. I just think all of this stuff kind of is hilarious, guys. Whatever you think of Belichick, and I do think he's a great coach. We can debate now, especially with the way it's been the last few years, whether he's greatest of all time. But I've said this. I do think eventually what Kraft may do is ask him if he will give up the GM job. Now, whether or not he's going to be willing to do that, I don't know, because he's just made some bad GM moves. I mean, you just can't question that. But whether or not that's going to happen, I don't know. Bill Belichick still may not be willing to give up the reins, and I guess Kraft is just going to continually, just have to deal with it. But it's just going to be interesting how this team goes moving forward the rest of this way and next year and all that type of stuff. If he's going to still be given the opportunity to break Don Shula's record.
Yeah.
Guys.
Thanks for your call, Eric.
Y'all take care, and we'll talk again soon.
Appreciate it. Have a good one.
Oh, he's gonna break that record. He's not worried about getting fired. And yeah, it is ironic that I think they released it after they won that he had signed a multi-year deal.
I can't remember
in
if
off
it came
season.
out Sunday morning.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to figure out. Like, when did I see it? Because I know I sent it to y'all, and it might have been early Sunday. So they released it.
Yeah, I thought it was an early Sunday.
Yeah, so they may have released it prior to the game even starting. But I mean, listen, fans. If fans want to be upset,
9:03 a.m. on Sunday.
Yeah, so essentially it was earlier.
Thank you.
And I just saw it as I was scrolling through before the game started. But I mean, fans, you can look at it how you want to look at it. I don't think Vrabel would go there and compromise his team just to possibly get a lane or a spot in the coaching seat that may happen in years to come. So fans, I know you didn't like what he said, and I'm not gonna say I didn't like it, but you just got to know, your team's 2-4, and there's, after the game, players said a few things, and now the trading rumors are coming up. Guys being traded. We saw all the rumors. Yeah, you may not have wanted to say that, but what did you expect him to say? He was in front of New England fans, and he was saying, listen, this is a Class 1 organization. And I'm sure, Kraft said, listen, our fans, say something to get them going, so they can still believe in this organization. And he said it's truth, Whether fans like it or not, it was his truth. He didn't do what Fisher did. I tell you that.
Yeah,
I tell you that 100% he didn't do what Fisher did. So, I mean, fans, if you want to be a little irritated about it, you have every right, because it's your team, your coach. But if you don't care too much about it, then okay, it is what it is.
Look, everybody's ticked. Everybody's tense. People don't like the fact that they're 2-4. Mm-hmm. That is just natural. And so everything that you see is probably going to rub you the wrong way if you let it. You know what I mean? But you have to sort of take yourself out of that a little bit and say, okay, put yourself in his shoes, all of that stuff. So I think you got to kind of let some of that roll off your back. Don't sweat the small stuff.
Hey, now, when you're 2-4, man,
nothing rolls off your back.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
You're carrying boulders.
Oh, yeah. If I may,
Go
just
ahead.
let me play this clip one more time. Listen to two things specifically in this clip.
I've been a lot of places. This is a special place with great leadership, great fans.
great direction, great coaching. Enjoy it. It's not like this everywhere. Thank you very much.
So what I'm trying to get at, there's two things to me that stood out. The direction, and obviously at the very end, not every place is like this. Now, my thing is, if the Titans are not that, then where does he go from there? Is his time done with the Titans?
But also, if the Titans are not that, then what are you doing to fix that, Mike? Like, if you want to call it, and I don't know if that's what he's doing
He could
or not.
have been
if he's
just talking about he could have been talking about the Houston Texans when he was there.
Because that is a crap organization.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Or don't we see again? Because they're 2-4, we're reading. If they were 5-1, I don't think anybody would be reading into it that much. Because they're 2-4, we're reading into it.
And I think we're reading into it
Is he not
because-
just emphasizing he was on one of the most special teams that's had the most success of any team in the salary cap era, and it's not even close.
I think we're reading into it because we already were concerned about the state of the locker room. We were already concerned that maybe the culture was a little bit more fragile than we would like for a Mike Vrabel coach team that likes to boast culture so much. So I think that it's already having a hunch, it's already having the concern, and then hearing him say that, it just kind of adds salt into the wound, if you will.
Yeah, I can understand both sides. If you are a little ticked about it, if you just think it was just another whatever, and it doesn't sort of pertains to his team, whichever side you're on, hey, you have every right. It is interesting because I said this last week. These guys and coaches, players and coaches, sometimes I think we sort of, when they say things, like it's sort of like, you sort of dismiss it on one hand, and then on another hand, you don't want to. These guys, all of them, coaches, players, they're all calculated in what they say. They are. They're all calculated in what they say. And they're just like, again, when Simmons said what he said it because he's seen it. He's seeing it. Maybe just a little, but he's starting to see it. And Vrabel probably even brought it up. Guys, hey, listen, y'all can't be late to these meetings. Y'all can't be late to the training room. Guys that's supposed to be at 6. I'm going to tell you exactly, because I've heard this like over and over and over and over and over and over again so much. It's just like a record. When you're not winning, or when you are winning, guys, if you got to be in the training room at 6:30, be in the training room at 6:30. Don't walk in at 6:35. Don't walk in at 6:40. We need you back on the field. So guys, be in there. Hurt guys, be in there. If you're told to be in the locker room, in the weight room, to get your weights lifted at 7 o'clock, be there at 7 o'clock. Don't roll in at 7:05. We need you. Everything we're doing means something. It's all it's all connected. It's all a part of the bigger plan. You can't neglect this and think you're going to, do well over here. If you're supposed to be in that training room, be in there. If you're supposed to be in the weight room, be there. If the meetings start at 7:30, be there at 7:25. All those things mean something. Simmons sees this. He may not see a lot of it, but he sees it. Now, after a loss, it comes out. And he may just be talking to a few guys. It may not even be the whole thing. A few guys. These guys are calculated. These guys are no dummies. They know exactly what they're doing. Vrabel knows exactly what he's saying. He may be talking to his team. Yeah, we got a good locker room, but we want a locker room like I used to have. That's why I'm trying to get it, guys. This is what I'm trying to get to. This is why you need to continue to listen to me, because there is a reward at the end. It may be hard. We're going to go through ups and downs, but there is a reward at the end if we do it this way. So, I don't mind, because if it's true, what are you going to say as a team? You going to get mad if it's true? No, you're just going to say, okay, we got to do what we need to do. But if it's not true, then that's when you start to see the other stuff come out. So we'll find out this week and next week whether what Mike was saying is true about his locker room. Because if they lose this weekend, you may start to see some of that come out if indeed it's true.
He's undefeated after the bye in his time with the Titans, just FYI.
Yeah, well, he's going to need to continue to be undefeated because they need this game bad.
They need it
Although a team from the NFL has made the playoffs for the last 5 years, starting 2-5. 2-5, not 2-4. 2-5. That's crazy.
I would be interested to see of those 4 or 5 teams, what were the factors? Was it just you started poorly, or was it you started the season, your quarterback was injured?
Well, the Titans was one of those teams, weren't they? Last year, they were 2. They lost the first game because they ended up being 4-2. I guess, so it didn't matter because they ended up losing 2 games, but they were 4-2.
The tweet I saw was from Aaron Schatz. He does not list the teams that made it. We'll have to go back and figure out who they were. The Titans, I do think, were a few years ago 2-4. I don't think they were 2-5 and made it, but weren't they 2-4 a couple years ago?
They were 2-4 in 2019.
Yeah.
And then they made the switch to Tannehill from Mariota. And that's when they turned things around and ended up making the playoffs.
Okay.
So that's what I think.
So they're not one of the teams that has been referenced from Aaron Schatz because all of those teams were 2-5.
Yes.
But I'm not liking their chances if they go 2-5. But this game, they are an underdog in this game. By the way,
this game's a must-win.
A 1-point underdog to the Falcons at home.
Well, let's continue that conversation coming up next because we got a little bit of news over the weekend of Ryan Tannehill, where his state is at, and how that might make us feel for this game against Atlanta coming up this weekend. We'll get into that coming up next. But hey, join Jared Stillman, Chris Sanders, and D-Mase at Teddy's Tavern, located across from the Bridgestone Arena Plaza this Sunday from 9:30 to 11:30. They'll break down the Titans' Week 8 matchup against the Falcons and give you the latest updates before the game. Our NFL pregame show is presented by Harmon Tractor and Equipment and the Beast Unleashed.
Whether it's college football,
Players might end up not going to Alabama or Georgia.
Or the NFL.
I think that this team wins the AFC South.
Trevor knows. Join ESPN's Trevor Maddich every Tuesday at 4:30 on Stillman and Company as he gives his opinions on the latest from the gridiron.
I'm going to the team where I can get a ring.
Trevor Maddich brought to you by Houston Clinic Orthopedics, where experience matters, on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
All right, time to tell you once again about Loan Pronto. Loan Pronto has got some outstanding programs going on for you, and I've been telling you about it for a long time. The Dream Home Bridge Loan. Also, the Express Equity Line of Credit can get you those thousands of dollars in as little as 5 days for anything that you might need. So I've been emphasizing a lot, if you're in the business of purchasing a new home, or you're purchasing a new investment property, but your home's equity through Loan Pronto, the cash you get there can be applied to anything if you just need to pay some bills. So if you've got a ton of equity in your home, and chances are if you've owned your home for a while, you've got a pretty good amount of equity there. Loan Pronto can help you turn that equity into cash where you can access up to 95% of your home's value. Use all the money to pay off credit cards, the personal loans, car payments, whatever they might be. All you've got to do is call Loan Pronto right now and get the details and get on the road to that financial stability you're looking for. 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780, or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
Hi, this is Warren Moon, former quarterback for the Houston Oilers, 9-time Pro Bowler, and member of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. As a former player, I've always focused on my health. Did you know about 1 in every 3 people in the U.S. will have shingles in their lifetime? Shingles can cause nerve pain and can last for months or even years. As we get older, our risk of having shingles and its serious complications increases. Getting the shingles vaccine is the only way to prevent shingles. Join me and gear up against shingles.
At Mercedes-Benz of Music City, a healthy and productive culture takes a day-to-day discipline. Here's Sam Cavett, General Manager, with a few thoughts.
Mercedes-Benz has its standard, and we have Dream Motor Group standards. They're definitely on the same level, but I feel like we challenge ourselves at least as much as Mercedes-Benz challenges us. It's a genuine motivation to take care of customers, and we see it in the customer reviews.
Live the dream at Mercedes-Benz of Music City, mbofmc.com.
Lee Company is the trusted expert for heating, air conditioning, plumbing, electrical, and general maintenance for facilities throughout Kentucky and Tennessee. Our technology and expertise guides facility owners and managers to smart decisions. When you need a reliable partner to keep your facility profitable and running 24/7, we hope you'll think of us. Visit LeeCompany.com to learn more. That's LeeCompany.com. Lee Company, all you need.
Get a great deal on select Kubota equipment, the #1 rated tractor brand for durability and owner experience in the U.S. The versatile lineup is built to help you make the most of your land. Right now at participating dealers, get a Kubota compact tractor for 0 down, 0% APR for 84 months, plus save up to $800 on qualifying implements. Now through October 31st. See us or go to KubotaUSA.com/disclaimers for full disclaimer.
Visit Coleman Tractor, your local Kubota dealer in Clarksville, Nashville, Paris, and White House today.
Whether you drink it neat, in a cocktail, or like our boys at Bridgestone, on ice, Blue Note Bourbon hits all the right notes. From the ever-popular Blue Note Juke Joint to our fabled Blue Note Crossroads. It doesn't matter if you're watching the Preds at a bar or just hanging at home. Our double gold medal winning, hand-bottled, straight bourbon whiskey always sounds like a good time is about to be had. Blue Note Bourbon. Take note. Sip responsibly.
If it's important to Nashville,
I'll put it out right now.
It's important to Jared Stillman.
Like, that's it.
He's not afraid to ask the tough questions.
Something is going on, and the question is, what does it mean?
Or give the strong opinion.
And just needed the bozo offensive coordinator to stop ruining the quarterback.
Stillman and Company. Weekdays at 2 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Ryan Tannehill, we saw him on crutches leaving London last night. And, they have a bye week. So I think the organization feels that, any time is going to be helpful for them right now. I do think they're bracing for him to potentially miss a game, though. I think the seriousness of the ankle situation may call for that. So maybe some time helps him out. Maybe it helps with the swelling. Maybe he feels great after this bye, a couple days off as they try to get back on track in terms of time zone as well. You're dealing with all of their exhaustion from the traveling in London. And so we'll see where that stands. But obviously, I think this is a team that's not performing very well right now.
All right, that was Diana Rossini on the Athletic Football Show. Official Titans reporter Diana Rossini with yet another Titans scoop. But it was very widely reported over the weekend. Ian Rappaport, Mike Garafolo, and again hearing there Diana Rossini, that it is likely that Ryan Tannehill will be out week 8 against the Falcons. So I know that some Titans fans out there might be jumping for joy and jubilant that there could be no Tannehill. Might be some Titans fans out there saying, oh no, we need to win this football game. Like Willy said, there have been 4 or 5 teams in the last 5 years that have been 2-4, made the play, or 2-5 rather, and made the playoffs.
4 of the last 5 years, at least one team that was 2-5 ended up making the playoffs.
Still doesn't make me feel great about this team's odds if they drop to 2-5. Now, it was reported on NFL.com. It was a combination of Ian Rappaport and Mike Garafolo, the NFL insiders for NFL.com and the NFL Network, that said both Malik Willis and Will Levis are preparing to play this weekend. They're both preparing to be the starters. So overall, thoughts, reaction to all of the news of Ryan Tannehill and who could potentially be coming in on Sunday against the Falcons.
We hit this pretty hard last week that we felt like if Ryan Tannehill is physically able to play, he would be the starter. So I think it's interesting you start hearing these things the weekend they're not playing from some of the national reporters. It's almost like Mike Vrabel is laying the groundwork. He's giving himself some runway to be able to say he's just not going to be physically ready to help us. Because, look, we know about this injury, the high ankle sprain. We talked about it back and forth last year. I had the injury, and we talked about it. It's hard to get by. The two choices are he plays hobbled or he doesn't play. We saw both last year with the same guy, Ryan Tannehill. We saw him playing hobbled, and we saw him not in the lineup. So we know with the Titans, these are not great choices right now. But the better choice last year was him hobbled.
Yeah.
But I'm not even sure he's going to be to that point by Sunday. And so that leaves you with the decision. So part of the rumblings I was hearing, D-Mase, and I think they sort of dropped a hint. Variable dropped a hint in his press conference after getting back from London that they were going to prepare both quarterbacks during the bye week. And those are the rumblings you heard again over the weekend.
Yeah, I think you have to get both guys ready to play. Now who becomes the starter, I have no idea. But you got to get them both ready to play. Because in an event, say one of them go down, the other one has to be able to come in. And, was a week of not playing in essentially 2 weeks of not playing, well, almost 2 weeks for Ryan, is that enough for him to heal? Maybe, maybe not. But, again, I don't think with the way this offensive line is, the way this offense has sputtered, I don't think you can throw your quarterback out there if he's not 100% again. Because you tried that last year, and what happened? He ended up getting injured, had to have the surgery. Do you want to, again, and this is why I go to, hey, listen, if you feel this is your guy, then you put him in and let him ride the season out. Because if you throw Ryan back in there with an offensive line that isn't good, and I'm just calling what I see. This offensive line hasn't performed well all season. You're going to throw a quarterback out there that's, 70%? If that. And he's not going to get healthier being out there behind an offensive, unless you run the ball 50 times, and you're not going to do that. But he's not going to get healthier being out there. You subject him to another injury if you put him back out there when he's 70%. Yes, a 70% Ryan Tannehill may be better than 100% Malik Willis or Will Levis. But is it going to get you more wins? Or is it going to
50% Ryan Tannehill the next week. So if that's what's best, and it's best for Ryan Tannehill to sit for a week and then you feel much more optimistic about what he can do throughout the rest of the season, I say, yeah, I think that's worth it.
You're not going up against an explosive offense this week, so you can hope that your defense of line steps up and play the way they have played in the past.
I do think you look back to the formula, how they beat Houston last year with Malik Willis, where they basically said, we're not going to pass. Our defense is going to win, and we're just going to run the heck out of it. And they got ahead, and they pulled it off for the one game. I do think that, let's just cut to the chase. I would like to see Will Levis get a shot here.
I'm with you.
I think you've seen enough of Malik Willis that we've seen what he can do, but it's time to see if Will Levis can give him a spark.
And I think that Will Levis getting the starting nod is the best thing for this organization, because that would mean that they believe that Will Levis gives you a better opportunity to win a football game than Malik Willis does. And I think at this point in Will Levis's development, at this point, if we all agree that Will Levis is more than likely the starter next season than not, then he needs to be at the point where he's at least edging out Malik Willis for a starting job. We saw Malik Willis in Baltimore, and I know he wasn't thrown in the best situation. Backup quarterbacks aren't always going to be thrown in cushy situations, but he looked like he still had a whole lot of work to do. And so if Will Levis still at this point can't beat out Malik Willis and show this coaching staff that he can give this team the best opportunity to win, that puts your team in a scary position for the future of the quarterback position.
Well, it's hard to beat somebody out once we've gotten to the season. That it's easy to say that if he can't beat him out, but I'm telling you, it's hard to do it, because now you're into your season. Now this Malik Willis has been the backup the whole time, and Levis hasn't gotten many snaps. So to say, well, if he can't beat him out now, then let's just give up on the kid.
Oh, I didn't say. I'm not saying give up.
I know you didn't say give up, but what I'm saying is that I don't think you can read too much into that. Now, if this was preseason and Will hadn't gotten hurt, and they both, and you just decided Malik is your guy, then okay, he's your guy for this year. He needs some more reps and all that other stuff. But it's hard to beat out a guy once the season gets going. To me, I think the best way to proceed with this is you prepare Malik Willis. Well, you prepare both guys. You allow Malik Willis to go in. If it's not going the way you think you can go, it goes. You pull him, you throw in the rookie. Now, this game, it's okay, go out there and just play. Don't worry about it, because to me, you throw him in at the beginning, he doesn't do well. Do you pull him? Do you leave him in? Because
so you're
if
saying
you pull
you'd like
him,
to see Willis get a shot.
Exactly. And it's not like it's because you want to give Levis a shot too, but I think in order to this, because we've talked last week about the psyche of them. If if you throw them in there, you're just going to destroy them, which I don't think is true in today's football. But I think it's better. Let Malik start out. See how the game's going. Malik's doing well. Okay, we're going to continue to go with him. But if he's not, then okay, Levis, get ready. Levis gets ready. Go in, just play. Now I'm playing a little bit more free. I'm not worried, because if you play like when you come in as a starter, Will Levis, now there's this pressure on you to get everything right. If I bring you in, once this guy didn't get it, the pressure is not for you to get everything right, because now you've watched the game for a quarter or two, whatever it is. Now it's just go in there, be yourself. We're going to call the game to help protect you. Be yourself. Now I don't go in with all this pressure of, man, I got to come in and I can't do anything wrong. Well, now we're not even worried about you doing anything wrong. We ain't going to pull you. We just let you play. You got 2 quarters or 3 quarters to go out there and play football. Show us what you got. I guarantee you, well, damn near guarantee you, that he will come out better under that circumstance than he would if you say he's the quarterback, because Vrabel ain't going to – he's not going to – if he is the quarterback, Vrabel ain't going to tell us until what, Saturday?
I wouldn't expect
Yeah, he's not going to tell us until probably, minutes before the game. Then we decide who's the starter. But he's probably already told one of those guys who the starter's going to be.
Maybe he told Robert Kraft in the box.
Oh, that's possible. Tampering. I'll give you where I'm coming from, because it's totally from the outside. I'm going to use an Elliot Friedman line that he uses a lot. And D-Mase, I think you will agree, the players probably deep down, they've been observing this. They probably have a knowledge of who should get the spot. Like if Malik Willis has won them over and he's outworked and he's been just flat out beaten out Will Levis, then they're gonna say, look, Malik Willis should start. But I can't know that from where I'm sitting. My argument for Levis is very simple. I have watched Willis in the games, and I see a lower ceiling. Will Levis, I don't know his ceiling right now, but I think I've seen enough of Willis to know where he could take them this year. And so
nowhere.
Yeah, I think so. And the examples in London are,
Let me not say that. No.
Sort of the basic things, and you heard Mike Vrabel harping on some of these things in the preseason games. Some of the basic quarterback game management stuff that you like to see, that are things that I would hope that he would know by now. It's one thing if you can't read the most complex defenses and you're dealing with a tough pass rush and a poor offensive line, yes. But there are still some mistakes he's making that are stuff that you shouldn't be making at this point. Holding the ball in the situation, not throwing it out of the end zone, not getting out of bounds on the thing. And so, to me, that limits the ceiling. That's why I would, at this point, where you kind of need a spark, you have a little bit of that unknown, you're playing at home, I would lean towards Levis if the stuff internally would suggest that Levis and Willis are basically equal by now. See, I can't know what Levis has been doing. None of us have seen Levis.
Yeah.
Really, even in the preseason, we hardly saw him.
Yeah. No,
How do we know?
I'm interested to get TD's thoughts on this. He'll join us coming up next. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Get ready to dig into the future of construction. Look no further than Parman Tractor and Equipment. They've got the power and precision you need with link belt excavators, where red means go. Whether you're looking to rent or buy, link belt excavators are known for reliability and performance. When you see that red and gray machine on the job site, you know it's time to get things done. Parman Tractor's team offers unparalleled service. Visit ParmanTractor.com and get in the dirt with employee owners of Parman, where red means Falcons go. Don't miss out on totally outrageous customer service.
Willy Donick here for Pella Windows and Doors of Nashville. The official brand perception report for doors and windows is in. Pella Windows and Doors are the leading brand among all others. A few reasons why. Pella is regarded as the highest quality, the most innovative, and the installers with Pella of Nashville lead the way for attention to detail. That's why Pella Windows and Doors of Nashville is one of Pella's top locations in the country. For new doors or windows, I suggest you choose the experts at Pella Windows and Doors of Nashville. Go to PellaNashville.com.
Teddy's Tavern, downtown's newest bar with an old Nashville feel, is conveniently located across the street from Bridgestone Arena and just blocks away from the pedestrian bridge. Get a taste of the new brunch menu to fuel your Titans Day pride on game day. Pre-game specials from 9 a.m. till kickoff when the Titans play at home include 2-for-1 draft beers, mimosas, and Bloody Marys. Teddy's Tavern is where you want to be before every Titans home game, so come downtown early and meet me at Teddy's. Get ready to elevate your game day experience. Titans fans, it's all happening at Mimo Bar on Titans Terrace. Just a short walk from the bridge at First and Demumbrian. They've got your epic pregame and postgame covered. With their Italian classics and sensational cocktails, your senses will be on a joyride. And hey, listen to this. Everyone at the Titans Terrace gets a chance to bag a Gibson Guitars merch bundle, a $100 Mimo postgame gift card, or a weekend brunch for two. So why wait? Mimo Bar, where Nashville's heritage meets Italian flavor.
Now, your Game Center update.
I'm Nick Frazier. Yesterday in the NFL, Arthur Smith and his Atlanta Falcons went on the road to take on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Desmond Ridder found his way into the end zone in the first quarter, giving the Falcons an early lead. But later in the game, star running back Bijan Robinson didn't record a stat until the second to last play of the game. Arthur Smith told the broadcast crew that Bijan was dealing with an illness. The following play, kicker Younghoe Koo kicked the game-winning field goal to win 16-13. The Falcons play the Titans this Sunday, and the Two-Tone Blue have opened up as a 1-point underdog for the Sunday's matchup at Nissan Stadium. And for news out of the MLS, the first-round playoffs are all set. Nashville SC are set to take on Orlando City SC in the first round with a bit of a twist. The MLS has adopted a new 3-game format. Nashville SC's Daniel Lovett shared his comments on the new playoff format and the challenge ahead.
To be honest, I'm not sure. I don't think we've ever seen it before. So the league gets to make up their mind, and there's not really any say from any of us or anyone really other than themselves in wanting to make money on the format. So that's their prerogative, and so be it. It'll be interesting. We look at it as a challenge, even if we were hosting the first round for the 2 games.
Nashville SC's first game in the 2023 playoffs versus Orlando City SC will take place next Monday in Orlando. I'm Nick Frazier. You're listening to 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
For more, follow us on Twitter at 1025 The Game or visit thegamenashville.com. Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne. Nashville's exclusive home for the Nashville Predators. 1025 and 1063.
79-52 Vanderbilt. And I think he's got a coach shot by Cheryl.
You're going to see more moves. The Game.
A Cromwell media station.
Covering your teams and the news of the day.
Ladies and gentlemen.
This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase.
Who is pleasant to listen to.
With Caroline Fenton, Willy Donick, and former NFL wide receiver Derek Mason.
You are hands down my favorite radio personalities of all time.
On 1025 and 1063, The Game, and the Game Nashville app.
With no further ado,
Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 1025, 1063 The Game, and the Game Nashville app. We are live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Game Studios, and we're streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook Live every single day. Joining us now is TD, Teron Davenport. TD, I hope you had a nice and relaxing bye week, but back in action this week against the Atlanta Falcons. We heard over the weekend that we could likely expect Ryan Tannehill to be out week 8 against the Falcons. Both Malik and Will Levis are preparing as the starters. What do you expect to see? What do you hope to see from these quarterbacks this weekend?
Yeah, I think really what you expect to see is heavy reliance on Derrick Henry and the rushing attack and just some quick passing game. I'm actually, for Whiteboard Wednesday, I'm going to draw up something with DeAndre Hopkins that I noticed the Titans have been doing, and they're going to need to do a little more of that. So just things to make it easier for them, you know, whether it's Levis or Willis. rollouts, half-field reads, and flooding a side of the field and just letting them high-low and see what works.
How do you think they are going to balance these quarterbacks? Are we going to see like what we saw in the first preseason game where it was switching on and off? Maybe not one quarter and then the other quarter. Switching on and off, is it one guy gets the nod with a short leash, or is it one guy gets the start and it's his job to lose? What do you feel we might see this weekend?
Yeah, I think the last thing you said is what we'll see. I believe that Willis will get the start, but I have a feeling that leash is going to be short if he does get the start. And we've seen a lot from Willis, right? And when you look at just the hesitancy to throw the football and just kind of seeing it but not believing it, that's something that, if you remember, Marcus Mariota had an issue with it, and Mike Vrabel had a short patience level with that. So I would imagine if that's something that he sees from Willis, then Levis will go in. You just have to be really careful just as far as like walking that fine line, whereas you don't put Levis in a situation where it could damage him long term. We know that he is the long term option.
And on that point, TD, sorry,
No,
to
go
interrupt
ahead.
you. That's something that we have talked about. And one of my apprehensions of putting Will Levis in there is, look, he's the future of your organization. This offensive line has struggled protecting the quarterback all season long. How much do you believe in, for lack of a better word, ruining the young quarterback?
Yeah, I mean, I think there is something to it. Obviously, a baptism by fire is something that could have one of two results, right? It could thrust you into a situation where it's like, all right, well, I done seen it all, been through it all, or it could put you in a situation where you're like, man, I ain't trying to be no parts of this. And I think when you look at, Giovanni Comazzi, a guy back in the day from Hofstra that was the quarterback for the 49ers, they knew right away that he wasn't that guy. You know what I mean? And then on the opposing side of that Hall of Fame game back in the day, Tom Brady was the starter, and they knew right away that, hey, man, we got something. So it could give you one or two different results.
Yeah, it can, and we talked about that earlier, TD. How do you proceed if you're Mike Vrabel and his coaching staff with this situation? And my thought was, listen, because at this stage, and tell me if you believe this or not, because you've been at other teams and watched other teams, how they've sort of maneuvered with their quarterbacks, that if you put Levis in as the starter right now, I think there's a lot of pressure on him not to do anything wrong. And you may not get the quarterback that you want to get, as opposed to putting Willis out there and saying, in your mind thinking, okay, if this thing isn't going right, now we can put Levis in, and just tell him, play football. Don't worry about anything. Play football. Go out there, and we will discuss it after the game. We'll go over, your minuses and sort of talk about your pluses as well. But put you out there after the Willis didn't do much, if indeed that happens, but then putting Levis in a situation where just go and play, because to me, he's been through this before in Kentucky. I mean, he went from having a really good offensive coordinator to a bad one, and he struggled. But I don't think that damaged him as a football player, and I don't think it would damage him here if indeed you do put him in, if Willis can't, do the things that you're asking him to do.
That's exactly why I feel as though Willis should be the guy to go out there, because let's say he goes out there and it doesn't go right. Guess what, D-Mase? Mm-hmm. It can't get much worse than what you've seen. You know what I mean? So now it's like, okay, you go out there, play ball, man. I know, these are bad situations, but play ball, worst come to worst. Hey, you got number 10. Just put the ball up there. He's down there somewhere. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it's one of those things where it's like, you don't want to throw the youngster into the fire so right away, but you could allow him to go into a situation where it can only get better. And I think when you look at Levis, I talked to him a bit, and one of the things I asked him was just about the patience, and how he's processing everything. And I asked him if he ever thinks of Aaron Rodgers or any of those guys who had to sit a bit before they got to start. And he was like, man, look, it just comes down to when I get my opportunity, I'll make the most of it. But until then, I'm just going to continue to come along. And, fortunately for him, they're calling the things that they do
on scout team, the same as if it were Titans offense. So he's getting that little experience there, and he's just trying to work through it. And Mike Vrabel told him, okay, yeah, you know, the defense might want you to go here or there with the football, but you go where your reads take you. So he's getting those reps and things like that, so that's a positive.
You know, that is huge because I can go back to my first few years in the NFL and you know, doing scout team with Neil O'Donnell. And, you know, just like you said, there's that circle around a guy that's supposed to get the ball. And Neil was like, don't worry about that circle. I may throw it to any one of y'all. So just go out there and play, get open, play, because I've been in this game long enough that I'm not just because that's not getting the defense prepared for things that can actually happen.
Right.
Is this game, TD, you believe, two parts? Is this a game, a gut check for the defensive line because they hadn't played particularly well the last two games in regards to stopping and run and getting to the quarterback? And is this a must-win for the team, period, coming off a bye?
Man, listen, I'll answer that two-part. H-E double hockey stick. Yes, in both cases. You know, they have what, but 2 or 3 QB hits in the last couple weeks. Mm-hmm. They absolutely have to get to the quarterback, and it is a must-win for them because it's just, okay, you go to 2-5, you have to. The Colts are playing really well. Yes, they lost to the Browns, but Gardner Minshew and that offense did their thing. They put up 30+. So I think when you look at it, it's a key game that they have to get. But then spinning it back to that defensive line, Jeffrey Simmons had some words, and they were the right words to say, right? Mm-hmm. As far as a leader on the team saying, hey, look, man, you know, we got to figure out who wants to fight. You know, who's going to be able to stand up in the middle of this and take a stand. And I think, you know, it starts with him. And so I think, those guys up front, whether it's Nico Autry, Travis Gibson is a guy who's going to get more snaps, Harold Landry. They all are in key. Tierra Tart, whenever he comes back, like they all needed to really step up and make sure that it's established that, hey, look, man, defensively, things all start with that front. And that's the way we all thought it would be coming into this season, and they need to, you know, get back to that.
Now, do you see there being some changes in regards to the team? Do you see if there's will there be any movements? Because over the weekend there's, and I'm sure you probably saw some of them, TD, and you probably talked to some people, that there were a few guys, names that came up in potential trades. Now, Donna Rossini did report that, you know, when it comes to the young guys, Traylon Burks and the young guys, it's a no-no. But it wasn't like it was a no-no with anybody else. So do you see something potentially happening before the trade deadline?
Yeah, you know what? I'll tell you, I think Kevin Byard is a name to watch. And listen, I'm gonna be honest. Like I stay objective, but like that one right there, like that would, my feelings would be hurt. I'm not gonna lie, my feelings would be hurt. But they needed safety in Philly, right? Mm-hmm. And I think you know, you look at that play Tyreek Hill had where he didn't have, you know, he caught the touchdown and Bradbury didn't have that help over top, right? Edmonds didn't get over in time. I think Byard makes that play. And so I think when you look at Howie Roseman and just his propensity for adding top-level players, I guarantee you he is in Rand Carthon's ear like, hey, man, you know, I want Kevin Byard. He was born in Philly. I want to bring him home, et cetera, et cetera. So that's one. And, I mean, I don't know who – There's obviously a lot of teams that would be interested in Derrick Henry. That's another one that would hurt me, but I don't know who, and what the compensation would be. But those are the top names. I think Nico Autry is a guy you got to consider because you could never have enough pass rushers. So you look at different teams that need guys that can impact the quarterback. He's another one.
You'd be hurt. I'd be hurt. I think this whole fan base would be hurt. I mean, Kevin Byard is the heart and soul of this organization. But if the Titans do decide to trade Kevin Byard or Denico Autry, do you view that as the Titans waving the white flag on the season?
Absolutely. Yes. You start getting rid of, you start becoming a seller and not a buyer, you are waving the red flag, the white flag rather. And that's why I don't think this team does much because, look, at 2-4, they're 2 games behind Jacksonville. And I know the Jaguars dominated the Saints, but they still have 2 games against the Jaguars. And they also have a bunch of games remaining against the AFC South Division. You look at this Titans team, Mike Vrabel, when he was asked about the identity, what did he say? We'll never give up. We're always going to fight. Well, at 2-4, they feel they're still in it. How many times have you heard Kevin Byard bring up the fact that they were 2-4 in 2019 and made the AFC Championship game? How many times have you heard Azeez Al-Shire say, hey, you know what, I was on a 49ers team that was 3-5, and they went to the NFC Championship game.
Yeah.
So for me, when I look at this, I don't think that they're going to be sellers because they firmly believe that they're still within the race. And honestly, you look at this, they go out and beat the Falcons, right? Now they're 3-4, and I tell you what, things actually look pretty good for them.
How much do you think the Titans' plans at the trade deadline lie on this game against Atlanta?
Wow, I think a lot of it lies on that because I mean, look, 3-4 as opposed to 2-5, like it's one game, but there's a big difference as far as the mindset and the mentality when you look at that. And guess what? By the way, last year Jacksonville was 2-5. The Titans were 4-2, and we know what happened as a result. Now, obviously, the Titans had a huge slide and a bunch of other things happened, but you got to remember this team has 6 out of the remaining 11 games at home, right? And then you're looking at road games against Houston, road games against Jacksonville. You know, Pittsburgh's going to be I don't even know what the word.
It's going to be a tough one.
Bloodbath.
Yeah, but outside of that, I mean, there's a lot of games that are very winnable for this team, so they can turn it around.
What do you think of? What did you make of this week? Just saying AFC South. Now I know Houston, they didn't play, and obviously the Titans didn't. But I was listening to the telecast with the Browns and the Indianapolis Colts. There was some bad calls in that game, but I digress. And they were talking about how Coach Stefanski, I believe that's Cleveland's coach. Yeah. He talked about how critical it was for them to get a win going into the bye week. And for whatever, we can say the refs, it was just bad calls toward the end of the game, but they got that win. But it doesn't take away, like you said earlier, that Indianapolis Colts, they were the first team that I saw this season run the ball down Cleveland's throat with nobody being injured on Cleveland's side. And they just ran with Jonathan Taylor as well as Moss. What do you think of after this weekend? What do you think of that division? Jacksonville won Thursday prior to the weekend's game. What do you think about those two teams in this division?
Yeah, it's funny how this game
and Indianapolis is playing better on defense. Shaq Leonard is back, and Franklin is a beast.
Big factor. Franklin has about 17,044 tackles this year. But no, it's when you look at this, it's just so interesting. It makes me think of Al Pacino's speech in Any Given Sunday, where he said, like, you claw for that inch, and how football is a game of inches. Imagine if Foster Moreau catches that pass, right in his hands. And things are totally different. And for me, like when I look back on that Saints game, it's one that the Saints should have won, right? But they didn't, obviously, and a winner's a win. It's not the Jaguars are where they are. I think when you look at the Colts, though, the fact that they were able to establish something on the offense against a Browns defense led by Jim Schwartz that has been just total dominance is a big thing. But overall, this division is still winnable because the Titans have, like I said, they have X amount of games. What is it? 9 more games, 6 more games, I think it is, against the division, right? You got 2 against the Jaguars, 2 against the Texans, so 5. 1 against the Colts. So there's a lot of movement that could go on. And here's the thing: all you got to do is win that division. You get in the dance, and it's. I mean, we've seen 2019, once you get in the division, if you're hot, once you get in the playoffs, there's a lot that could happen. And that's why I think they hold on to Derrick Henry, because he's one of those guys, right, where he could turn back the clock And next thing you know, you're seeing a guy that you saw back in 19 and 20 and 21 before he was hurt. You're seeing a guy dominate, and this team can ride that type of wave. So I think there's still a chance. I mean, I'm not trying to sell false hope. I'm just selling, what I've seen this team do before. So the division, in my opinion, is still wide open.
Making me believe. My glass is half full.
Season tickets are available now. Now, I want a credit for whatever tickets you sell.
TD, Teron Davenport is with us. TD, we did this last week, and I want to get your perspective on it. Report card for both Shane Bowen and Tim Kelly through 6 games so far.
Oh, yeah. Good question. I'm actually doing a post on Derrick Henry and just kind of stating a case for him being in the Hall of Fame this week. And I think when you look at it, look, man, it's a crude formula, but there are 2 wins. Derrick Henry has gotten the ball 20 times at least.
Yeah.
So for me, when I look at it, and there's obviously a lot of other factors, but you got to give. And it's something that Tim Kelly said before the season started. He said he would be a fool to not lose track of what this team does best. And what they do best is give the ball to number 22. And all that I say to say this, they have to find more ways to get Derrick Henry the football. And to me, like, it all revolves around that. Because if you get Derrick Henry effective, everything else plays off of that. I talked to Ben Jones this morning, and he said that, as an offense, you want to run the football, but once you get Derrick Henry going, everything stems from that. He's the nucleus. And Ben Jones is 100% right. Even though he's not in the building, he's 100% right. And I think Tim Kelly has to find ways to reestablish Derrick Henry. And I love Tajay Spears. I think what he's done has been very effective, very, respective. But you have to find ways to focus on Derrick Henry and play off of that. So my report card for Tim Kelly to this point is less than satisfactory because they haven't consistently done that. As far as Shane Bowen is concerned, look, the explosive plays that they continue to give up, it's a tough situation for them.
Yeah.
They have to figure out how up front. And I've seen Shane Bowen dial up blitzes, whether it's Roger McCreary, Kevin Byard, whoever. They're blitzing them and trying to find ways to get more pressure. But what happened to those days of last year and the year before where they were able to get pressure with the 4 up front and drop 7 into covers? They have to figure out how to get back to that.
Without Harold Landry.
Yeah, they're going to have to figure out something in this span. And, to what you were saying, TD, there's going to be more 1 or 2 yard gains than there are 10, 15, 20-yard gains.
Yeah.
But they just you gotta find a way to stick with it, which means a lot of what you're doing hinges on whether the defense is able to hold up or not. And frankly, right now, I'm worried. I really am with that defensive line. I think they could turn it around, but man, oh man, I'm worried about, can they be that defense they have been and carry this team like they have, for the last couple of years? Are they still that defense as guys start to age?
That's a great point. And I think, Arden Key, I think he is, for lack of a better term, he is the key to what they can do up front. And he's a guy that has been so disruptive throughout his career. And if you get that guy to be able to have that impact from the outside, I mean, look, man, Jeffrey Simmons, he continues to be one of the most double-team players in the league. So when he's drawing that double team, you got that one-on-one between you and the tackle. Look, man, time to win. And I think that's, a message that has to be delivered to Arden Key, to Harold Landry, Travis Gibson when he's in. And it's just one of those things where guys have to step up because Simmons is drawing all of the attention in the middle, and somebody else has to step up and be that difference maker.
With Bijan Robinson coming into town, a little bit nervous. Bijan Robinson.
Yeah.
Is so
Kyle Pitts
they better hope Bijan Robinson is not having a a day where he doesn't feel good like he did yesterday in Tampa. I would imagine he's looking to rebound from that.
Another
One carry,
Le'Veon
3
Bell.
yards.
Another Le'Veon Bell performance from yet another opposing running back with TD. Teron Davenport, appreciate you for joining us. Looking forward to your new piece on Derrick Henry coming out here soon.
Yeah, for sure. Appreciate you. Take care.
Awesome. Thanks, TD. The absolute best, Teron Davenport, will react to what TD had to say there. Plus, you mentioned at D-Mase some reports coming out about some calls that the Titans have received. We'll get into that coming up next. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, we are brought to you by Zen Sports. Start earning C2Bet.
Coming on in Forsberg, he scores! It's Pete Weber. Tuesday night, the Predators continue their homestand against the Vancouver Canucks. Join Jay Moore, Max Hers, and me starting at 7 o'clock.
Your home for Smashville is 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Well, we have a Monday night game, which we will call the end of the football week. So we got the Vikings, 49ers, and if you're betting, you need to switch. If you're on any other, site, you need to switch to Zen Sports tonight. Do it. You do it right now. You need to switch to Zen Sports. Why? Because there's no better sports book out there. They are the fastest growing sport book in Tennessee, revolutionizing the way you bet on sports with their cash reward program. When you sign up with Zen Sports with the code D-Mason, that's D-M-A-S-O-N, you will earn a welcome bonus that gives you 5% cash back on your total betting volume for your first 15 days of betting. Think about that for a second. 5% cash back on your total play with no limits to how much you can earn as a cash rebate on your bets. So what are you waiting for? Stop wasting your time, people, and your money betting on other sports when they only give you credit and points, when you could be earning real cash rewards with Zen Sports. Download today on the App Store or at zensports.com. Your wallet and or purse will thank you later. Gambling problems, call 1-800-889-9789. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 years or older to bet here in Tennessee.
We're losing too many of our friends, neighbors, and loved ones to fentanyl poisoning. Nearly 75% of overdose deaths in Nashville involve fentanyl, but you can save a life with training and naloxone. STARS, Nashville's regional overdose prevention specialists, are here to teach you how to recognize and respond to an overdose and how you can save a life. Call 615-393-6980 or visit starsnashville.org. This project is funded under a grant contract with the State of Tennessee Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services.
It's time to celebrate this fall and unleash the beast. Monster Brewing proudly presents to you Beast Unleashed. 0 caffeine, 0 sugar, all the adult beverage fun. The Beast is unleashed with great taste, bold familiar flavors, and 6% alcohol. Go wild with Mean Green, White Haze, Peach Perfect, and Scary Berries. Don't fear the Beast. Enjoy Beast Unleashed at your next tailgate or football party. Drink responsibly. Must be 21 and over.
Get in on the conversation at 615-737-1025. The game text line is driven by Wilson County Hyundai. Online at wilsoncountyhyundai.com.
Wireless headphones. That'll be $200.
I'll use my Capital One Quicksilver card.
Now that's a hit. You used the Capital One Quicksilver card, which makes you the hero of every purchase. With Quicksilver, you earn unlimited 1.5% cash back on every purchase everywhere.
I wanted running music, but unlimited 1.5% cash back is pretty heroic.
Good instincts. Every hero needs a theme song. The Capital One Quicksilver card. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
There's lots to love from Apple right now at Verizon. Get the new iPhone 15 Pro with titanium and more to love from Apple on us with select phone trade-in and select unlimited plans. There's no better place to get what you love from Apple than at Verizon. And there's no better time than right now. All that with the network you can really rely on. It's your Verizon. $999.99 device payment or full retail purchase with new smartphone line on select 5G unlimited plans required. Less up to $1,000 trade-in/promo credit applied over 36 months. Promo credit ends if eligibility requirements are no longer met. 0% APR. Trade-in conditions apply. One offer per eligible Verizon line. Additional terms apply.
Hey Nashville, this is Rick Stockstill, and you're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 The Game.
Caroline line, Willy, D-Mase. Hey, Preds fans, do not miss this Wednesday night Smashville live show at Brewhouse South in Cool Springs at 6 p.m. See your Predator star players up close and personal. You can get autographs and pictures. This week's special guest is Preds head coach Andrew Brunette. Look at Smashville Live getting the head coach.
All right.
All right. Smashville Live is brought to you by the Black Abbey Brewing Company. Thanks to Teron Davenport for joining us in the last segment. One thing that you brought up to him, D-Mase, was the rumors and the grumblings of the calls that the Titans have been receiving over the weekend. Now, Diana Rossini wrote in The Athletics of some of the trade deadline things, the buzz that she's been hearing. She wrote this, and keep this in mind. Diana Rossini, if there's anything to know about the Tennessee Titans, Diana Rossini knows it. We believe that Diana Rossini has a direct line to somebody within the Titans front office. It's happened, during John Robinson's time and post John Robinson's time. So I think we can have a feeling it's probably Mike Vrabel.
Yeah.
And she's hearing things directly from Mike Vrabel. So Diana Rossini writes, the Tennessee Titans need draft capital and have been getting calls from general managers over the last few days. Though I haven't found a team showing significant interest in Derrick Henry, sources around the league tell me that Tennessee has received calls about safety Kevin Byard, and one team reached out about wide receiver Treylon Burks. I don't get a sense Tennessee will move any young player. Now, I don't get a sense that Tennessee will move any young player means Mike Vrabel told me that Tennessee's not moving any young players. But Kevin Byard, as far as Kevin Byard is concerned, we were texting yesterday. You said beware of the Philadelphia Eagles potentially calling about Kevin Byard.
Yeah, because I think Philadelphia, they need a safety. They have worked before with the Titans, the trade with A.J. Brown. And I think he fits in well with what they like to do as a defense. And you sort of, you can get rid of the salary because, again, my thinking is you're going to, as much as fans don't want to hear this, he's not a part of your future moving forward after this season. I do believe that. So why not try to get something for him before you release him? Because once you release him, anybody can sign him. Why don't you don't have much draft capital. Why don't you try to get something? Now, you may get a third, you may get a fourth. I think it will be in between because Philly needs help on their defense in the back end. I think you're getting anywhere in between the third and the fifth for them. I think if that's the case, then the Titans you got to seriously think about because if you're giving up, and I think TD was right, and you and Willy, and I think we've all sort of said this somehow, some way. Like if you get rid of Derrick Henry, like trade away Derrick Henry, Kevin Byard, and say Danico Autry, you're waving a white flag.
You're done.
You're done. But I think if you trade away Kevin Byard, you're not waving a white flag because you rely so heavily on your defensive front anyway. And we haven't seen much of Kevin Byard this season. His name hasn't been called a lot. Now, I'm not saying he's not playing and having a good season thus far, but that back end has struggled, And
his defense.
Yes, the defense has struggled. And he hasn't made the impact that we've seen in prior years. That doesn't mean he's still not a good player. I think right now his value is as high as it's going to get, especially when you start talking with a team that believes they can win the Super Bowl. And they may be a safety away from doing that because offensively they got everybody they need. It's defensively. What else do we need? Well, we need help in that back end. So I'm sure, like TD said, Roseman is pushing hard to try to figure out a way to get a guy that's on. It's not an expiring contract, but it is an expiring contract. How do we then get him on our team? Because you've paid some of the salary. Maybe you trade him away and maybe Philly takes the rest of the salary and they give you a fourth or fifth round for him. Okay, I'm doing it because I think at the end of the season, they're going to make that tough decision of releasing him anyway.
And that I would agree with you that, hey, you need draft capital. If you're going to move on from him anyway, then what's the harm in moving him away? it's what your plans are for the rest of the season. Because I asked TD, hey, if you trade Kevin Byard, what does that mean for your football team? This was TD.
Absolutely. Yes. You start getting rid of you start becoming a seller and not a buyer. You are waving the red flag, the white flag rather, and that's why I don't think this team does much. Because look, at 2-4, they're 2 games behind Jacksonville, and I know the Jaguars dominated the Saints, but they still have 2 games against the Jaguars, and they also have a bunch of games remaining against the AFC South Division. You look at this Titans team, Mike Vrabel, when he was asked about the identity, what did he say? We'll never give up. We're always going to fight. Well, at 2-4, they feel they're still in it. How many times have you heard Kevin Byard bring up the fact that they were 2-4 in 2019 and made the AFC Championship game? How many times have you heard Aziz Al-Shire say, hey, you know what, I was on a 49ers team that was 3-5, and they went to the NFC Championship game.
Yeah.
So for me, when I look at this, I don't think that they're going to be sellers because they firmly believe that they're still within the race. And honestly, you look at this, they go out and beat the Falcons, right? Now they're 3-4, and I tell you what, things actually look pretty good for them.
How much do you? And so I agree with TD that I don't think that they're going to be sellers at the trade deadline because I simply just don't think it's in Mike Vrabel's DNA to wave the white flag, especially when you're only 7 games into a 17-game season. But in the question of are you waving the white flag if you trade away Kevin Byard, I personally think that you are. And maybe you might think, and I'm not saying you, D-Mase, specifically, I'm just saying, listeners might think, well, it's a safety's not going to be the difference between winning the Super Bowl and not. And I would agree with where the Titans are. Maybe with where the Eagles are, it's a different story because it looks like they're a Super Bowl contender right now, that they could be an added layered piece and an added veteran away defensively from winning the Super Bowl. But I would say if you're not competitive with Kevin Byard, what makes you think that you can still win football games without Kevin Byard? So I do think that you are waving the white flag if you trade away a player like Kevin Byard that has been impactful on the field and is the heart and soul of your organization.
Well, I mean, I just go back to I thought they were going to trade him or release him at the beginning of the season. They were able to work something out, and he ended up staying. I just haven't seen the level of play. And, you got to be careful because every time, someone, at least a former player, says something, it's like, oh, you're just hating on the guy, this and that and that. No, I'm not. I think Kevin Byard is still a good player in this league, but he's not what he was. And his defense is no more better with him than without him. At least the back end, it's like, hell, he's not in there. That's still the same thing. There was a play against 2 weeks ago when they went to London. I think Edwards was the running back. And a play that I've seen Kevin Byard make 50 times. He fill in that gap. It was an outside run. You fill in that gap. You make the tackle. Shoot, tackle, whatever. But you make that tackle. I'm sitting there. I'm watching that play. Real time. And he misses. So I said, okay. It probably was just a regular miss. So then I go back and watch the film. And it's not the same guy. It's just not. He went in with his head down, not even looking at the guy. It wasn't a fundamentally formed tackle that you just usually see Kevin Byard make every time, just about every time. And he didn't make it. There's a step that he's missing now. You can see it in coverage, steps that he's missing. So to me, he's still a good player, but he's not the player he once was. And his defense, to me, now he may be the heart and soul of that defense, but the heart and soul isn't going to win you games if you're not playing to that level. And I just don't think at this particular time with this team, if you can get something for him. Now, I'm not saying just throw him away for a 6th-round draft pick, a 7th-round draft pick. No, and some bubble gum. No, I'm not saying that, okay? What I'm saying is if, say, Philadelphia, and I do believe Philadelphia is going to make a run at Kevin Byard. Say Philadelphia come in and say, hey, listen, take over the rest of the contract. We'll give you a 5th and a conditional another pick just in case how things go. do you take that as a team? You really seriously, a fourth or fifth, third round is a no-brainer. It's a damn, because you're basically getting essentially what you paid for,
right.
After many years. But if you're offering me a fourth or fifth and a conditional pick, depending on what goes on, and you're taking a salary, you have to think about that as a GM. Like, okay, he's important to the team, but he's not Derrick Henry. I still need Derrick. I need Derrick Henry, because if I have to go to this young quarterback, I'm going to need that one guy. And I know last week, I sort of made it seem like, hey, trade Derrick Henry. But if you got the right thing, you got to trade him too. If you get in the second round pick, it's like, okay, see you, D. We love you. You can come back here whenever you're done, but we got to get this second round pick. But I think you got to keep Derrick Henry, because he does so much just for the psyche of what's going on offense.
Especially if you're transitioning.
Exactly, especially, and I've always said, running back and a tight end is the best friend of a young quarterback. Obviously, the offensive line, but I'm just talking about those two.
But we don't have
guys, and we don't have, and it's not coming anytime soon. But I just think when it comes to Kevin Byard, this defense hasn't played up to the level that we know they can play all season. Maybe one game, the Cincinnati game, but the rest of the games they've been not as good. I think you can get away with trading away Kevin Byard, getting a fourth or fifth round pick if you can get that. Again, I'm not saying just trade him away for anything. If you get a fourth or fifth, get it, use it. But then now you don't have you do him a favor too, because you send him to a team that's competitive, that many believe is going to be in the Super Bowl, and then you help yourself with draft picks. This is all about building draft picks, and he's not a defensive end. Certain positions certain positions rank higher
Safety
on
is
the
not
hierarchy.
the most important
Exactly,
position
safety isn't
on the hierarchy.
Exactly, so we can get you. I can put another safety in there. He's not going to be Kevin Byard. I know that, but if you just play how we want you to play, communicate back there, then there will not be. He won't be missed as much if you just do play sound. Because right now, nobody's playing sound on that defense consistently. Let's say that.
And the other aspect of it, too, and look, I understand that once you get to a certain point as an organization, when you have made that decision that, hey, we're moving forward for the future and we're doing what's best for our football team, and doing what's best for our football team is collecting assets. Once you make that decision, that has to be your number one priority. But I can't help but think about the optics of all of the conversations and the back and forth that was had between Kevin Byard and the organization. You ask him to take a pay cut, and then you trade him away in the middle of the season when he said he wants to retire as a Titan.
Well, he can retire. I mean, listen, you do what you want to. But, as for this team and where we're at now, we think it will be best for us to, help you out. I know you want to stay here and battle, but help you out.
Help me help you.
Go to, if we can facilitate a trade to Philly or some other contender and they're giving back a fourth or a fifth. I don't think it'll be a fourth unless Philly's just like, man, let's just do it because our team is stacked right now. We don't need that fourth round pick. And if we do, we'll find a way to get it back right before the draft. If they're offering you a fourth or fifth round, it's like, why not? Like, you got to take it. I'm not saying you got to take it, but it's just like, why not take it? They're taking the salary, the rest of the remainder of the salary, and they're giving you a fourth or fifth. That's almost
You don't do it if you believe that you need Kevin Byard to turn this season around.
And again, with or without him, with him it may get turned around, it may not. Without him, it may get turned around, it may not. He's not that common denominator of whether the team gets better or gets worse.
Yeah.
He can be playing good. He played good last year. What happened? They still play bad.
Yeah.
They still was a bad team. Now you can say injuries, but they still was a bad team.
If the Titans trade Kevin Byard to Philly, the fans will burn this town down.
I think fans, it would be reminiscent to Baltimore days, like you get Steve and Eddie and Samari. Steve, Derek, Samari goes to Baltimore. Yeah, people be upset. AJ and Byard goes to Philly.
And it's like Atlanta's kind of the home for wayward Titans, but it's okay because Atlanta kind of stinks. But if you trade him to Philly, like after AJ, and AJ he's had what, over 100 receiving yards in the last 5 games?
125 receiving yards. Last person to do that was Megatron.
Oh. Yeah. My goodness. And then I saw Julio last night, and I thought, watch Julio have a couple of touchdowns.
I believe we still pay him, too. So
I'm glad he didn't have a few touchdowns because, I mean, it was just added insult to injury.
Man,
oh, man. So.
And I look back on me defending that move of, look, AJ's always hurt. He's causing issues on social media. He wants too much money. Get rid of him. I look back, and I want to flick myself and say, you idiot.
I mean, but it was, it was the situation that we were in, and you're only looking at it right then and now.
Right.
And, it's like, dude, you're causing so much confusion and causing so much of a fuss. Like, even if they sign you, will it be a good marriage after you didn't cause all of this, So try to get something for him. The problem is the guy that they got replacing him hasn't done much.
And AJ's been consistently healthy in Philadelphia.
Yeah,
and his replacement is not consistently healthy.
He's been consistently injured.
That is absolutely 100% true. So let's get into a little bit of an NFL potpourri, what we saw over the weekend on the Titans bye week, and of course finish up with your thoughts as well. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Are you always on the go? We've got you covered. Download the Game Nashville app from your app store and listen to us wherever you are.
Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexroad. It's Chase McCabe.
Caroline, Willy, D-Mase.
Dominic Cavity.
We are Nashville's best sports talk.
Good station. I listen to it all the time.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Twin Peaks is the best in the game. Here, you're in the red zone for every college rivalry and divisional matchup all season long. On game day, you never have to decide which teams to watch, only what combination of bites, burgers, wings, and more to order. Plus, where else are your favorite draft beers always poured at a frozen 29 degrees? Only at Twin Peaks, the #1 sports bar.
Stick around after the sun sets. Twin Peaks is open really late. Wind down with bourbon and late night bites. Only at Twin Peaks.
O'Reilly Auto Parts' new Brake Best Select Pro brand raises the bar for the best aftermarket domestic brake pads and rotors available. For vehicle-specific friction formulations, Quiet-Tech noise-canceling shims, and stainless steel hardware, choose Brake Best Select Pro. Professional-grade brakes from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Are you drowning in credit card debt? Want to get cash out of your home's equity? Loan Pronto can do it now in less than a week. Hey, Willy Donick here. That's right. Loan Pronto's Equity Express line of credit just got even faster. You can get $50,000, $100,000, even $200,000 in as little as 5 days. You don't even have to touch your primary mortgage. You can keep that 3% rate intact. Get just the money you need and pay off all those credit cards or get that home improvement project started. With this revolutionary program, you can access up to 90% of your home's value, and in most cases, there's no appraisal. Stop paying insane interest rates to the credit card companies and get tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash in as little as 5 days. Call Loan Pronto now for the even faster Equity Express line. 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. 615-499-5780. Equal Housing Lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
Whether you drink it neat, in a cocktail, or like our boys at Bridgestone, on ice, Blue Note Bourbon hits all the right notes. From the ever-popular Blue Note Juke Joint to our fabled Blue Note Crossroads. It doesn't matter if you're watching the Preds at a bar or just hanging at home. Our double gold medal winning, hand-bottled, straight bourbon whiskey always sounds like a good time is about to be had. Blue Note Bourbon. Take note. Sip responsibly.
There are ordinary hotels, and there's the Four Seasons. There are ordinary cars, and there's the Rolls-Royce. There are ordinary handbags, and there's Gucci. There are ordinary engagement rings, and there's Genesis. A Genesis diamond ring is unlike any other. Artistic, innovative design, handcrafted precision. exceptional detail and quality. This is why people who work at other jewelers come to Genesis for their rings. A Genesis ring is considered the gold standard in bridal, with no compromises, no cut corners, nothing short of perfection. We have the look, the style every woman dreams about. At Genesis, you'll find dozens of exclusive world-class bridal designers who are revered for their attention to detail, exceptional vision, and superior craftsmanship. A Genesis ring rises to the occasion, reflecting her style, her unique personality, her confidence, her individuality. In a world filled with ordinary, for this moment, choose extraordinary. Choose Genesis. Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills, and Cool Springs.
Hey home buyers, TJ Anderson here with More Great Homes. Located just west of Nashville in a tranquil setting of Kingston Springs Ranchettes neighborhood, 1617 Wildlife Trail offers 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, a 2-car garage, and a 1-year builder warranty, all for under $450,000. Contact my team today at tjandersonhomes.com for more info. Want your home listing to be seen and heard by home buyers? Google TJ Anderson Homes and see why we are referred by clients so often. TJ Anderson Homes at Benchmark Realty, office number 615-432-2919.
Hal Gill here for my good friends at Dunkin'. I get my Dunks every morning. I grew up with Dunkin' in Boston, and it's been my favorite ever since. Fall in love with Dunkin's pumpkin coffee, lattes, muffins, and donuts. Made with their signature high-quality coffee, each sip and bite is sure to delight. Perfect for those cool autumn mornings or as a sweet treat any time of day. You won't be able to resist the delicious pumpkin flavor. Get pumped for pumpkin. Stop by Dunkin' today.
They're homegrown in Nashville, discussing the biggest topics in the SEC.
The fans are going to want the rivalries to stick around. They've lost to Alabama every year.
The NFL.
What if all the top 3 quarterbacks went 1, 2, 3? You've got to draft your guy at 2.
And anything in between.
From thinking we know everything to then forgetting about everything we thought we knew the day before.
They're Jonathan Hutton and Chad Withrow on Outkick's Hot Mic.
Out of the gates, ready to go.
Weekdays from 2 to 5 on 94.9 The Fan and The Fan app. Having some fun in the midday.
Okay, that's really fun.
This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase.
It's a good source of energy because it's live.
On 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Caroline, Willy, D-Mase. This week's Nashville's best deal is from Bad Axe Throwing Nashville. Go to thegamenashville.com/deals to get a $50 gift card for only $25. Bad Axe Throwing Nashville, Nashville's largest axe throwing venue, located downtown at 648 Fogg Street. What a wild weekend of football, both in college football and the NFL. Hey, T's and P's to our friend Robbie Stanley, who I'm sure is dead. Like this past weekend of football probably killed him. Between the Tennessee Vols just rolling over and taking it from the Alabama Crimson Tide in the second half, and then the Packers losing to the crummy, crappy Broncos. Pour one out for our friend Robbie Stanley. D-Mase, I'm terrified of the Indianapolis Colts. I know that they lost to the Cleveland Browns, but I would take Gardner Minshew over any quarterback that the Titans have right now. And that's saying something.
Yeah, Gardner played a really good game yesterday.
He did.
Threw for over 300 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. But he just has command over what's going on. And he's able to make those like off-script plays because he's good getting outside the pocket, buying a little time and then making things happen down the field. But it's not even that so much. If you want to watch a good offensive line, and there are a lot of them, there are a handful of them. I'm not going to say a lot. There are a handful of them. Philly has one. The Ravens have one. Go down the line of probably 2 or 3 other, two teams that have really, really top-notch offensive line. Watch that Indianapolis offensive line. They are good. Both their backs, 18 carries. Jonathan Taylor had 75. Zach Moss had 57. I know that it's not a lot, but if you watch the game, how they ran the football, how that offensive line pushed that vaunted, defensive line of the Cleveland Browns, they made Cleveland look like humans. Before it was like, man, that defense, exactly. Human. Like you got a bunch of Hawks and What's the name of the other guy on the Fantastic Four?
Thor?
No, the Brick. I forgot his name. Brick Man or whatever you call him.
He is Brick Man now.
Yeah, Brick Man now. It's like you got a bunch of those on that defensive line and you can't run on them. Well, Indianapolis did a really good job of just run on. So much so on a one drive, I think they ran the ball damn near every play and end up scoring with a Jonathan Taylor 4-yard run at the end. So those two teams, Cleveland and Indianapolis, are tough teams. But Indy, if they can get their pass catchers consistently, I mean, this defense, now that Leonard's back and he's somewhat healthy, you got DeForest Buckner and Franklin, and that guy, like TD said, that guy's a tackling machine. Anything that doesn't have on his color jersey that has the ball, he's tackling you. Yeah, he's going to get to you somehow, some way. He reminds me of how he attacks like Ray Lewis. It's just like he see the ball, he gets the ball, and very seldom does he miss a tackle.
And going into this season, I didn't view Baltimore as being one of the heavyweights in the AFC. I probably would have circled the Chiefs, the Bengals, the Jets with Aaron Rodgers, the Bills. Now it's looking like Baltimore is a Super Bowl contender, that it's the Chiefs and the Ravens and everybody else. I have been so impressed with what the Ravens have done defensively, running the football. Lamar, I think, is playing out of his mind, the best football that he's played in the past couple of years. It's one of those games that I'm glad is in the rear view of the Titans' schedule. They looked so good yesterday against the Lions. The Lions, who everybody was buying into, saying they're the best team in the NFC, just lost 38-6 to the Ravens.
I think they're still a good team, the Lions.
I still think they are, too.
I mean, every team has that. I mean, hell, we went to New England one year in the playoffs and beat them 44-something when I was in Baltimore. Didn't make it, they still won a Super Bowl the year after, I believe. So every team has their day. But man, oh man, this is why you don't listen to certain, people that when they're talking about quarterbacks and stuff like that. I could recall many people, he would never become a passer. Joke's on you, because Lamar has become a passer. He does more with his arm than he does with his legs. The guy is on fire. Monken has that offense rolling. If they can consistently catch the football, this is going to be a dangerous team, along with Kansas City, Miami, and some of these other teams. I'm not sold on Buffalo. All y'all talking about, Josh Allen's an elite quarterback. No, he's not.
That's a hill D-Mase is willing to die on. That's going to do it for us today. We will be back tomorrow at 11 a.m. Stillman and Company is up next.
Be love and love on your people. Peace.